Right.
Tiger, I need you to do me a huge favor. Can you please take your name off your phone? My wife went through my phone and maybe call you.
Tiger later apologized for his infidelity. Years later, back pain sidelined Tiger, forcing the golf champ to undergo multiple back surgeries. In 2017, police found Tiger asleep at the wheel of his Mercedes-Benz on a Florida road. His car was still running. Tiger's speech was slurred, the police report said, and pain pills were in his system. The golf great would later say he didn't know how strong the medication was following surgery. He pled guilty to reckless driving and took full responsibility for his actions. Tiger fought his way back, going on to win his first major in 11 years, the 2019 Masters Championship.
There's a time where I didn't think that would ever happen again until this last procedure, which was fantastic. So I get a chance to do it. I don't know how long I'm going to do it for, so I'm just going to enjoy it every step of the way.
But his back pain returned, leading him to yet another surgery last month. He was feeling good enough, though, to go golfing with basketball great Dwayne Wade on Monday. This video shows them joking around just a day before the crash.
Man, Tiger, thank you for teaching me something.
As Tiger Woods fights to recover in the hospital, family, friends, and fans can only hope there are more good times ahead. Randy Kay, CNN, West Palm Beach, Florida.
And for more on what happened to the accident scene today, I'm joined now by Los Angeles County Fire Chief Darrell Osby. Chief, thanks so much for being with us. You said earlier today that when Tiger Woods was found, he was in serious condition, but was stable enough to get to a trauma center. Can you just tell us a little bit more
enough to get
about
where?
his condition and how he was situated
To get to a trauma center.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. When my personnel arrived on scene, they arrived and the vehicle was turned over on the passenger side with significant front end damage. Tiger Woods was alert and oriented, and he was trying to self-extricate, but he was unable. So my firefighters used a Halligan tube to help pry the seats and the metal from around his legs. They also used an axe to break out the windshield. At the same time, the firefighters and paramedics were keeping cease-fire precautions for his for potential neck and back injuries. They were able to get him on a backboard, splint his legs, and transport him to a trauma center. The reason we took him to a trauma center is because the mechanism of the injury, it was a turnover vehicle with significant injuries, and that requires a trauma center transportation. The reason we did not take him to the nearest hospital because he had significant injuries, but they weren't life-threatening. If they were life-threatening, for example, if we were unable to control his airway, as an example, then we would have taken him to the nearest hospital.
At what point did the first responders realize it was Tiger Woods in the car?
Actually, a deputy sheriff from the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department arrived on scene first, and he spoke to Mr. Woods, and he had identified himself as Tiger. But then it was also brought to my attention that once my responders arrived on scene, because as we know, Tiger Woods is a very famous golf player, they recognized him immediately.
And despite first report, the jaws of life were not used, but your team did have to pry him out of the car, and I understand an axe was used. Was he aware of what was happening? What was the nature or details of the conversation he was having?
Yeah, actually, you're right about the jaws of life. We had that set aside as part of our cadre of potential tools to utilize, but it wasn't necessary. We were able to break the windshield open with an axe and use the Halligan tool to pry him open, pry the car open and extricate his legs. He was alert and oriented the entire time. I don't have the details in relation to the type of dialogue he was having with my personnel. He was aware of his surroundings.
Any more information on the nature of his injuries that were apparent at first and what they might be now, and if he's out of surgery?
Initially, like I indicated before, they're really concerned about potential spinal cord injury, so they put him on the backboard. They carefully removed him through the windshield to make sure that we didn't compromise his neck or his back. It's my understanding that he had minor lacerations and he had potential broken bones in both of his legs. He was transported to the trauma center where there was an emergency operations conducted by the physicians. I'm unaware of the outcome of the operation at this time.
Chief Osby, thanks very much for being with us and bringing us up to speed on what you know as we see these remarkable pictures of the crash scene itself. We appreciate your help, sir.
All right, thank you for what you do. Thank you very much.
Next, day one of hearings on the January 6th insurrection. The campaign by some to pretend it was something else, and a congressman and former Army Ranger who saw exactly what it was up close, keeping them honest. And later, new setbacks in the Biden administration's effort to get its people confirmed by the Senate.
At Farmers, we know how nice it is to save on your auto policy, but it's even nicer knowing that if this happened, or this, or even this, we've seen and covered it. So call 1-800-FARMERS and get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum. I knew that investing in financial assets was the way to financial freedom. Robinhood changed the game for everyone. It's simple to invest, it's simple to track your portfolio. You can literally start with $1. I invest in Robinhood like I invest in my game.
How do we ensure families facing food insecurity get access to their food? We needed to make sure that if they couldn't get to the food would come to them. We can deliver for food banks and schools. Amazon knows how to do that. I've helped deliver 12 million meals to families in need. That's the power of having a company like Amazon behind me.
It's hard to believe that Mint Mobile can be good at just $15 a month. So, as Mint's new owner, I brought in one of our first and oldest customers, Wasim McNavy. Welcome to Mint, Ryan. So you've had Mint for years. Any issues? No, the service has been great. And under my ownership, it's going to get even better. Oh, no idea. Still $15 a month though, right? Yeah. How about Taco Wednesday? Nobody's done that before.
When you take a statin drug to reduce cholesterol, it can also deplete your CoQ10 levels. I recommend Cunol CoQ10 to help restore.
Hello to who's ever listening with me.
Cunol is the brand I recommend considering along with your statin medication.
Renee is not an influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker. Renee runs with us on a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Because out here, you can't take a job well done. Hear Renee's store at Deere.com.
I was at a point in my life where I knew something was missing.
I wanted to try to find someone that wanted to experience life together.
My matchmaker was awesome. She asked me a lot of questions that were driven to get to know me better, what my likes were, what my dislikes were.
With over 25 years of experience and millions of matches arranged, It's Just Lunch is the world's #1 personalized matchmaking service.
So I loved working with my matchmaker. I would give feedback after every date.
I'm a busy man. I own my own business. It's Just Lunch set everything up. They set up a restaurant. They set up a date. They made it simple. I am so glad I made it simple.
Because It's Just Lunch believes that meeting face to face is the best way to tell if there's true chemistry. We guarantee you'll go on dates.
I want It's Just Lunch. It's Lori and a whole lot more.
Find out what our matchmakers can do for you. It's just lunch, but imagine the possibilities.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
It will shock you how much it never happened. When the writers of Mad Men 12 years ago put those words in Don Draper's mouth, they had no idea that some Senate Republicans would take them to heart today. About the attack on democracy that left 5 people dead, a president impeached, and now hundreds of people from all around the country charged with serious federal crimes. Yet in what should have been purely a search for answers, that...
I guess they're done with Tiger Woods. Anyone else want to listen to this, or should I end this broadcast? I'll stay on for a little while, see if anyone wants to listen.
Was a key theme at today's opening hearing about January 6th. The case for amnesia, and from one senator today, a bogus argument for pretending it wasn't what it really was. Or this, from the guy caught saluting the gathering mob. Who, me? Taken together, they speak volumes about how committed some members of the Republican Party still are to pretending that scenes like this look somehow different by gaslight. The problem is, we all saw it happen and have since learned it was even worse than this. We saw cops crushed in doorways, beaten with flagpoles, trampled and maimed and killed. We saw the Trump flags and MAGA caps, and we saw the Capitol overrun for the first time in more than 2 centuries by a ragtag army fed lie after lie, month after month, by some of the senators at the hearing today, then whipped up further by the commander-in-chief.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol. Yeah, we're going to walk down to the Capitol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave the Capitol building. Take the Capitol. Take the Capitol. Take the Capitol right now.
We saw what happened next and what did not happen, most notably, any backup in the moment from the National Guard. Today's hearing, with testimony from the former top security and law enforcement officials that day, was supposed to focus on that and intelligence failure surrounding the attack. And to the credit of Democrats and some Republicans too, it did. That said, despite charges against dozens of alleged QAnon conspiracists, far-right paramilitary oath keepers, and white supremacist Proud Boys, part of the proceedings still had to be devoted to debunking right-wing falsehoods like this one. There's no evidence that white supremacists were responsible for what happened on January 6th. That's a lie. Keeping them honest, it's only a lie if you give more credence to a cable polemicist than the law enforcement and security professionals he claims to care so much about. They had this to say about it today.
Based on what we know now, including the recent Department of Justice indictments, do you agree that there is now clear evidence that supports the conclusion that the January 6th insurrection was planned and it was a coordinated attack on the U.S. Capitol? Just say, everyone agree?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree that this attack involved white supremacists and extremist groups?
Yes.
That and a look at the arrest records should have been enough. But it's never enough for Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who recently said the attack didn't look like an armed insurrection to him and is a serial spreader of election lies. He used his time to read from an account in a conservative publication suggesting that left-wing agitators and fake Trump supporters were responsible for the attack, which in his telling reads more like a picnic gone sour.
A very few didn't share the jovial, friendly, earnest demeanor of the great majority. Some obviously didn't fit in, and he describes 4 different types of people: plainclothes militants, agents provocateurs, fake Trump protesters, and then disciplined, uniformed column attackers. I think these are the people that probably planned this.
Needless to say, that account, amplified by a sitting U.S. Senator, resembles precisely none of what we saw that day and none of what we've learned since then, including from those former officials today. And again, many of the Republican members did, in fact, take their testimony and the proceedings seriously. Senator Ted Cruz, on the other hand, was caught on camera playing with his phone during opening statements. As you know, he's another election lie spreader and more recently, a Texas climate fugitive of sorts. Maybe he was checking flights. As for Missouri Republican Josh Hawley, he was at the hearing as well. And afterwards, he had this to say when asked whether his repeated insinuations about the election made him complicit in the attack?
That's outrageous. I would say it's absolutely outrageous and an utter lie. And no one, I think, who knows any of the facts alleges any such thing.
Yeah, I'll show you outrageous. It looks a lot like this. Shortly before airtime, I spoke with Colorado Democratic Congressman Jason Crow, who was pinned down with other members in the House gallery during the assault. Congressman Crow, thanks so much for joining us. So what did you make of what you heard today? Obviously, a lot of important information was discussed, but there was also finger pointing among the law enforcement officials, as well as, frankly, conspiracy theories from Republican senators. So what's your reaction?
Yeah, thanks, John. Thank you for having me on. Obviously, some of the conduct of Republican senators continues to be very disgraceful. Those folks need to be held accountable for their involvement here in helping lead us to January 6th. But largely, there are still far more questions than there are answers to those questions. There are failures at multiple levels. What is very clear after today's testimony. What I want to know is why that intelligence assessment, those threat streams that were conducted at the FBI, didn't make it to the U.S. Capitol Police and to Capitol Hill and those that were responsible for the complex. There are also questions about the responsiveness or lack thereof of the National Guard. Why wasn't the National Guard prepared and ready to respond as well? So we're going to have to do a lot more investigation. And that's one of the reasons why I'm leading the Government Accountability Office investigation from the House of Representatives perspective to conduct that more robust review.
So after the insurrection, you told Rolling Stone, quote, "This was a catastrophic security failure. If this were a military operation, the officers in charge of that operation would have been relieved of command on the spot." So did you hear anything today that convinced you that officials understand and accept why this was such a failure of intelligence and security?
No, I didn't. And I stand by what I said, several weeks ago. It remains true. It is catastrophic. This was a devastating security failure. When you have a situation where the attack was actually being planned in the open, anybody with a Facebook account or a Twitter feed could have told you there was going to be a problem, and they had to have resources available to respond to that problem and that violence. But they didn't do it. So we have to figure out where it stopped, who didn't know what was going to happen, that needed to know what was going to happen, and why were the preparations not made in advance. And ultimately, the rank and file police officers that responded overwhelmingly in a very courageous way, and there's a few bad apples that are being addressed, but overwhelmingly the response of the Capitol Police was incredibly courageous, and obviously several lost their lives. Those folks deserve much better than this.
You talked about preparedness there. Obviously, you're an Army Ranger. In terms of communication and training and response capability, do they have what they need to repel this kind of attack?
Well, the answer has to be no, right? I mean, it was devastating on January 6th. We still don't have answers. The fact that we don't have answers to how this happened actually tells you all you need to know. If there was a process in place to assess intelligence, to assess threats, and to disseminate those threats down to the operational ground level to prepare and respond to those in a very quick and nimble way, we would actually already have answers to the questions that we're still searching for, but we don't, which tells me that there's larger structural problems that have to be addressed here in terms of the organization of the security forces for Capitol Hill, the relationships between the National Guard, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the U.S. Capitol Police, and others. We're going to have to figure all of that out. And there might have to be, major changes to the way that it's structured.
The fact that you see so few answers, as we sit here tonight, indicates that there is a lot more work to do. And one of the ways that may happen is through a 9/11 style commission. And Representative Liz Cheney, who's the number 3 Republican of the House, was quoted as saying she wants to see a commission that goes just beyond, frankly, just the security failing. She wants it to look into what role the former president might have played. Do you agree with that? Does it make sense to expand the scope of the commission?
I don't see any other way to do it right and not to have that large of a scope, right? Because you just can't look at what happened at the 6th. This actually started months ago with the president's rhetoric, him telling the big lie over and over again, enablers helping him move that lie forward over a period of several months, and then, of course, lighting the match on January 6th. So you have to look at the entire environment in this entire conspiracy, if you will, that led to that attack. You just can't look at the events of the 6th or even just the days leading up to it.
Congressman Crow, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Just ahead, we're going to go to the White House, dig into the confirmation battles that have suddenly beset several of President Biden's nominees. Will the president see his first cabinet pick go down to defeat? The details when 360 returns.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy Claritin and 24-hour relief from symptoms caused by over 200 indoor and outdoor allergens. Try Claritin Cool Mint Chewables for powerful allergy relief plus a cooling sensation. Live Claritin Clear.
Welcome. Today's discussion will be around sliced meat.
Moms want healthy and affordable. Landa Frost Premium. No added hormones either.
It's the only protein I've really melted with.
Landa Frost Premium. Fresh look, same great taste. If you have postmenopausal osteoporosis and a high risk for fracture, now might not be the best time to ask yourself, are my bones strong? Life's full of make or break moments. That's why it's so important to help reduce your risk of fracture. With Prolia, only Prolia is proven to help strengthen and protect bones from fracture with one shot every 6 months.
Do you guys want to, and gals, want to keep listening or not?
Serious allergic reactions like low blood pressure, trouble breathing, throat tightness, face, lip or tongue swelling, rash, itching or hives have happened. Tell your doctor about dental problems, as severe jawbone problems may happen, or new or unusual pain in your hip, groin, or thigh, as unusual thigh bone fractures have occurred. Speak to your doctor before stopping, skipping, or delaying Prolia, as spine and other bone fractures have occurred. Prolia can cause serious side effects like low blood calcium, serious infections, which could need hospitalization, skin problems, and severe bone, joint, or muscle pain.
Don't wait for a break. Call your doctor today and ask about Prolia. 10 years ago, we founded Loan Depot because we were confident we could deliver the American dream of home ownership to individuals and families across the nation. At Loan Depot, we know home means everything.
Want to build a gaming business that breaks the internet? That means working night and day and delegating to an experienced live bookkeeper for peace of mind. Your books are all set, so you can finally give John some attention.
Trusted experts, guaranteed accurate books. Intuit QuickBooks Live.
You've been very busy at home lately. It's time you got reacquainted with your massage routine. With Massage Envy, your safety is a top priority. Massage Envy. Keep your body working.
The story of late night, coming this spring.
At Gentle John Smoothing and Storage, we believe every moving truck is full of memories, hopes, and dreams. And that's how my dad approaches everything we do, from our trucks and equipment to employing the best movers in Oregon. Because we know these Oregon roads, with experience in over 100,000 moves, from Beaverton to Happy Valley, Eugene to Bend, and everywhere in between. And now we're ready to help make your next move the best you've ever made. Gentle John Smoothing and Storage, for the perfect move within your budget.
I want some adventure in the bedroom.
I am single and I'm somewhat ready to mingle.
When it comes to being an adult in a relationship, I suck at it.
I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket.
I do know that I love you. Will you marry me?
Deep down, I don't always care about my husband.
Finally.
Every day, the single life exclusively on Discovery Plus. Stream what you love.
I'm Lauren Fox on Capitol Hill, and this is CNN.
So what had once been a relatively smooth running nomination process for President Biden's cabinet picks is no more. Several who could have sway over key areas of the Biden agenda, including COVID relief and healthcare, now facing the prospect of defeat, or at least a lot less easy confirmation. A reminder of the razor's edge his agenda rests upon with that 50-50 Senate split. Our chief White House correspondent, Caitlin Collins, joins us now with the latest. Caitlin, let's start with Neera Tanden, the president's nominee to run the Office of Management and Budget, because her confirmation seems to be the most in jeopardy. What's the latest on that tonight?
It certainly is the most in jeopardy. And the White House is standing by her publicly, saying they feel like they are going to find the votes to get her confirmed. But it seems pretty unlikely at this point, based on what we're hearing from people over on the Hill. So that still remains a pretty big question. We should note that there are several crucial Republican and Democratic senators who have come out and said they are not going to vote for her. There are still a few more that the White House is waiting to hear from. And what they said today was that Neera Tanden, has rolled up her sleeves and is making a lot of these calls herself. Whether or not that's directly to these lawmakers, it still remains to be seen. But she is the most in jeopardy of actually failing. And if she does, it would be President Biden's first casualty among his cabinet picks. So right now, the White House is counting on a Republican to come out and say that they will support her. So far, none of them have, but there is going to be a committee vote tomorrow. And the White House press secretary told me earlier that they still plan on Neera Tanden being his budget pick when that vote is scheduled to happen tomorrow, John.
So Interior and Health and Human Services, Congresswoman Deb Haaland and Javier Becerra, what do the prospects for their nominations look like? Because they're not completely smooth either.
They're not. And you saw some pretty contentious hearings happening today on Capitol Hill. A lot of the questioning with Republican senators especially got pretty tough when it came to these two nominees. They seem more likely to get confirmed, even if it's only on party lines and you have the vice president come in and cast that tie-breaking vote. But Becerra, of course, is a notable one because if he is confirmed, he's going to be running a critical agency that is tasked with dealing with this pandemic that has killed 500,000 Americans. And what you heard from today from Republicans were that they were concerned he doesn't have enough experience as a direct healthcare professional to really take over that job. Of course, there have been nominees and health secretaries in the past that have not had vast experience there that have made it through confirmation. So that remains to be seen. He also got into a back and forth with Senator Romney over a vote that he had previously on partial abortion. But Deb Haaland over at Interior, she would be the first Native American to be confirmed to this post. She's the first to be nominated to a president's cabinet. But she was facing some really tough questioning as well. As far as her past criticisms that she's made not that long ago, John, about Republicans, one tweet saying that Republicans don't believe in science. And of course, she was being questioned by several doctors on that committee, including one Republican doctor who was saying, "You think we don't believe in science." So you saw some contentious, some tense exchanges. They are more likely to get confirmed than Neera Tanden, but we are still really waiting to see how all of this is going to shake out.
Kayla Collins, thanks so much. Perspective now from David Axelrod, a CNN senior political commentator and former senior advisor to President Obama. And David, I do think it is worth noting that I can't think of a president who got everyone he first wanted confirmed, correct?
Yeah, you'll remember back in 2009, we lost Tom Daschle, who was going to be, is going for the position that Becerra is hoping to fill now. And because of internal disputes within the Senate, we weren't able to get him through. There was a tax issue that probably wouldn't have tripped him up, but for those internal issues. These things happen. And I believe that, Neera Tanden's nomination is in jeopardy, largely because of her tweets. Kind of ironic because many of the people who were raising objections about her tweets had very little to say when the previous president was lighting people up on an hourly basis on Twitter. But nonetheless, she's antagonized with those tweets. She antagonized both people on the left and the right. So it doesn't, it looks like an uphill fight for her. I believe the other two are going to get nominated. And remember, these hearings are a chance not only for people to probe the candidates, but also to go on record in opposition to elements of the president's policies. Some of the senators don't like Joe Biden's climate policies, for example. So Deb Haaland is hearing a lot of that in these hearings. Senator Romney on late-term abortion. This is, I think, a normal part of the process. The thing that has slowed it down more than anything is that there was an impeachment hearing in the middle of it.
Neera Tanden, how long can the White House hold on here?
Well, I think we're coming to a critical juncture. I mean, these committee votes are going to be important. And look, they can count. And I think they will know pretty quickly whether this is a doable thing or not. And if it's not, I suspect they will withdraw her before it ever gets to a vote. But, they're committed to her to this point. I know her very well. She's very talented. She's been a very fierce partisan at times, and that is catching up with her here. But she's also very bright and very able. So I'm sure that if she doesn't get this position, she may turn up somewhere else in the administration. But right now, you'd have to say if there was one who wasn't going to make it across the river here, it would be her.
Very quickly, just talk about Joe Manchin for a second here, because he is that 50th Democratic vote, and he faces a lot of criticism from the left for saying he opposes Neera Tanden. But that criticism, I imagine he wears as a badge of honor when he goes home to West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, and on that one, let's point out Bernie Sanders hasn't been exactly friendly to her either, because she wasn't friendly to him in his campaign against her patron Hillary Clinton. So it's not just a left-right thing there, but there are other issues on which I'm sure Manchin is very happy to be hectored by the left, because he comes from a state that overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump, and he prides himself on being a moderate and an independent. And so, no, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt him at all.
David Axelrod, great to see you tonight. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good to see you.
And more on the breaking news this evening. Reactions from
doesn't hurt who at all.
Tiger Woods best.
To be hectored by the left, because he comes from a state that overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump, and he prides himself on being a moderate and an independent. And so, no, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt him at all.
David Axelrod, great to see you.
Sorry, guys and gals. I need another word that's more inclusive, but I'm going back.
Either because she wasn't friendly to him in his campaign against her.
See, that's the ADD, and I have no idea what he's talking about.
For saying he opposes Neera Tanden, but that criticism, I imagine he wears as a badge of honor when he goes home to West Virginia.
Yeah, and on that one, let's point out Bernie Sanders hasn't been exactly friendly to her either, because she wasn't friendly to him in his campaign against her patron Hillary Clinton. So it's not just a left-right thing there, but there are other issues on which I'm sure Manchin is very, very happy to be hectored by the left, because he comes from a state that overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump, and he prides himself on being a moderate and an independent. And so, no, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt him at all.
David Axelrod, great to see you tonight. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good to see you.
And more on the breaking news this evening. Reactions from the people who know Tiger Woods best when we return.
Robinhood has made it extremely easy for me to take the income I make from my commission paintings and invest it into stocks. As an artist, Robinhood gives me my financial power back. You are in control of your financial destiny.
Create beautiful brows with the #1 U.S. brow brand, Anastasia Beverly Hills. The first name in brows.
I'm still
for
looking
over
at
30
this.
years. Brows have the power to transform your entire look.
Info that's not on a
Change the emotion
spreadsheet.
your face, making the eye area instantly
Financial.
more open, lifted, and even youthful. So you can go from annoyed to pleasant, from vacant to velvety, from bored to brilliant, from sparse to supple. Create your own beautiful, fuller-looking brows at home in 3 simple steps with the natural and polished brow kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills. For $49, get this 3-piece kit plus 3 free gifts that isn't sold in stores and is valued at $107. Visit Ulta.com to order yours today. Shipping is free. Here's what you get. Step 1. Full-size brow definer. Start your look with our 3-sided brow definer that works to define and outline the brows. Brow definer's highly pigmented wax formula is ideal for all skin and hair types. Step 2. Full-size.
I think they're going to have something on Tiger Woods in the next segment again.
Brow product Brow Wiz to detail brows by adding extra dimension and natural hair-like strokes. Step 3. Full-size clear brow gel. Set the color and finish your look with clear brow gel, a flexible mold that lasts all day. Plus, get 3 free gifts.
Why does it keep trying to open meet and chat? I don't want to meet and chat.
This award-winning long-wearing mascara lengthens, volumizes, and gives you total bragging rights. And 2 mini lips to complete your summer look. Saint-Tropez lip gloss and our velvety matte lipstick in roses. This offer is not available in stores. There's nothing else to buy. No subscription necessary. Shipping is free. Go to Ulta.com to order your natural and polished brow kit today.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
There was blood in pretty much every room of that house.
This guy is playing a bunch of killers' cold-blooded confession. Watch it all go down. Lives, Crimes, and Video, Sunday at 9 on HLN.
If you're thinking to yourself, right now could be a great time to buy a new home, you're right. It is a great time. But it's also a great time for everybody else looking to buy a home. So what can give you a competitive edge? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out. Because when you find the perfect home, you don't want to lose it to anybody else. Here's how our verified approval helps to make sure that won't happen. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers greater confidence in you. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this, what can help you buy the home you really want? Rocket can. Visit rocketmortgage.com or call us today.
Apollo 11 Quarantine, March 6th on CNN.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Our Time, the #1 dating site for people over 50.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Looking to meet people over 50? It's easy. Open laptop, go to ourtime.com, start for free. The #1 dating site for people over 50.
An outpouring of prayers online for Tiger Woods and his recovery by his fans, but also his friends and others who know him best. Fellow PGA golfer Phil Mickelson tweeted, quote, "We're all pulling for you, Tiger. We're so sorry that you and your family are going through this tough time. Everyone hopes and prays for your full and speedy recovery." Olympic skier and Woods' former girlfriend Lizzie Vaughn tweeted, quote, "Praying for TW right now." And then there's actress Jada Pinkett Smith, who says she golfed with Tiger just yesterday. She tweeted, quote, "Prayers up for the GOAT, Tiger Woods, who was in an accident this morning, was just with him yesterday. Don't take not even a moment for granted. I know you're good because your Tiger within is a beast." And breaking just now, a tweet from former President Obama, quote, "Sending my prayers to Tiger Woods and his family tonight. Here's to a speedy recovery for the GOAT of golf. If we've learned anything over the years, it's never count Tiger out." The news continues, so let's hand it over to Chris for Cuomo Primetime.
All right, John, appreciate it. I am Chris Cuomo, and welcome to Primetime. We're about to talk live with the first man to come upon Tiger Woods after his car accident. Tiger is now in a trauma center after this morning's horrific rollover, a crash in his SUV south of Los Angeles at about 7 a.m. Woods suffered compound fractures in his legs. Compound is bad. It means the break came through the skin. It can create a lot of complications in terms of the surgery and the need for healing. Now, by the looks of it, he was lucky to survive. The LA Times reports he also injured his ankle. It's probably going to be the least of his worries. We'll see. They had to use an axe and something called a hooligan tool to pry Tiger free from through the windshield, according to the LA Times. Listen to what happened on impact.
Apparently the first contact was with the center median, and from there then crossed into the opposing lane of traffic, hit the curb, hit a tree, and there was several rollovers during that process.
Now, obviously, the question on everybody's mind is going to be why? Why did this happen? As you heard the sheriff there, we're going to have him on in a moment. They believe speed was an issue. The car did make its way across the median onto the other side of the road and down an embankment. We have an up-close look at that site now from CNN's Nick Watt.
So, Chris, Tiger Woods was driving down the hill on the other side of the road, somehow lost control, crossed the median, hit this curb, and then flipped. The county sheriff said that he flipped multiple times in that SUV through all this undergrowth. And look how far he traveled. All the way down here, rolling through, hit a tree, and then his car landed way further down here. Now, the first deputy on the scene, a young man called Carlos Gonzalez, said that he thought that Tiger Woods was lucky to get out of this alive. And frankly, I agree with him. I'm still walking where his car was rolling. And this is where Tiger Woods' car ended up. Now, apparently, he was calm, but Deputy Gonzalez said maybe that was shock, compound fractures to his legs, conscious when the emergency services arrived. Chris?
All right, thanks to Nick Watt. Why was he so calm? Tiger's known for being calm, but it also could have been shock. He was awake and talking, thankfully, when help arrived. He was already recovering, remember, from his 5th back operation of his career. This man is the best or one of the best ever to play the game. His play made him famous, but he was always bigger than sport. He was one of a kind when he came along. And I don't mean to talk about him in the past tense. I'm saying when he was a kid, okay? Hopefully he'll have many years to come even playing. But that fame and his uniqueness in that sport generated huge attention and scrutiny. Look how we're covering a car accident, okay? There is no indication that Tiger Woods is in any mortal danger, thank God. But everything about his life generates outsized curiosity. His marriage and personal issues were blown up worldwide in a way we have rarely, if ever, seen. But then what defines this man is that he came back. He came back from much worse than a pair of broken legs. He's only 45 years old, and he's had enough injuries for 2 lifetimes, close to a dozen back and knee surgeries, after which he still found a way to win a Masters just last year. He just had a surgery days before this crash. Just this Sunday, Tiger spoke about his hopes to compete at the Masters in April. At that point, he wasn't sure if he'd be in condition to even play yet.
Remove a stiff. I have one more MRI scheduled so that we'll see if the annulus is scarred over finally, and then I can start doing more activities.
7 weeks from today, final round of the Masters. You're going to be there.
God, I hope so. I got to get there first.
If anyone can handle the injuries and the scrutiny, it is Tiger Woods. Now let's get the latest from the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Alex Villanueva, and Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, who you keep hearing about because he was first to arrive on the scene. Gentlemen, thank you for doing your job, and thank you for taking time with us tonight.
You got it, Chris.
Sheriff, what can you tell us about the latest on the investigation into why this happened?
Well, the investigation is its infancy right now. The investigators are gathering all the facts. Deputy Gonzalez on scene. They take all their measurements and put all the information together. They're going to prepare a very detailed report, and it's going to be approved, and then we'll have an actual cause of the accident.
But right now, it's being investigated as an accident, right?
That is correct. There is no evidence of any sort of on his part inebriation, anything like that.
All right, good. It's good to have that clear from the onset. Let me ask you something, Deputy Gonzalez. You've seen a lot of ugly accidents, I'm sure. Were you at all surprised to look at what had obviously happened with that vehicle and get there and find Tiger Woods in the condition he was in terms of alertness in that car?
I was surprised for a moment when I realized that it was Tiger Woods inside of the vehicle. But of course, my job comes first, and my responsibility is to the person involved in the collision. And so I didn't let the surprise last more than a second because I had a job to do.
Oh, I hear you about him being a star. It's not even what I'm talking about. The car traveling as far as it did off the road, down that embankment, as bashed up as that car was, were you surprised at all that the person inside was still alert and awake?
You know, over my experience, I've learned with vehicle collisions, there's no telling. Sometimes something really minor looking can be very serious, and vice versa, something very horrible looking can result in no injuries. In this situation, it was a very traumatic collision. I do think that the fact that he was wearing a seatbelt and that the vehicle safety features worked as designed by the manufacturer likely resulted in either reducing his injury or saving his life.
Why did they have to use tools to get him out? Was it because of the pain of the injuries and his inability to move, or was he stuck in there?
So when I arrived on scene, the vehicle was rolled over onto the driver's side door, so there was no way to open the door, and he was still seatbelted in. When I got there, I had made the decision because I was able to get my upper body through the windshield, and I determined that he was alert enough and not a medical condition that necessitated me extracting him myself. And I decided to wait for the fire department. They have the tools and the training to rescue people in these situations, and they're the real experts. So I decided to wait for them.
You know, Sheriff, you've been doing this a long time. celebrities get into garden variety trouble, it gets more attention. But this is unusual. There is something about Tiger Woods that provokes a level of examination. There's no foul play. Nobody else was involved. Nobody's hurt. Thank God everybody's alive. This is getting national and international attention. What do you make of that?
Well, it's just the nature of a, cult of celebrity, whatever you want to call it. People just have an interest in things like this. And thankfully, it's an accident, nothing beyond that. Now we're just going to pray for Tiger's speedy recovery, and hopefully he'll get back on his feet and doing what he's known to do. We'll just have to wait and see.
Now, Deputy, when you made contact with him, I've heard you say that you were talking to him. He may have been in shock, which is not unusual when somebody's had bad injuries. Did you need to prompt him to stay conscious and to stay awake, or was he okay, but maybe in a little bit of shock?
When I got there, he was lucid. I was able to ask him his name. I was able to ask him if he knew where he was and what time of day it was. So I didn't need to keep him conscious. What I was more focused on was to keep him talking so that he wouldn't be so concerned about the situation he was in. And that way he wouldn't go into a additional talk before the fire department.
Deputy, did he ask you to contact anybody and let anyone know that he was okay?
He did after he arrived at the hospital. He asked my partners if we could reach out to his team that's here in LA County and notify them of what he's been through.
That's all a good sign, right? That he was able to have his head around it. Now, in terms of the injuries, Sheriff, what do we know? I'm hearing compound fractures in the legs and a break in one of the ankles. Is that accurate as far as you know? Is there anything to add to it?
We can't report on what's happening at the hospital, so that'll be up to Tiger or his team to disclose that in the medical authorities. But when he was removed from the scene, obviously he had very serious injuries and he was treated for that, and we have to leave it at that.
How bad was this accident from your experience?
Well, I've seen many accidents throughout my career. I know Deputy Gonzalez has seen as well. That he's alive and well is good. It's nothing short of a miracle considering the damage. However, like you said, we've seen accidents with far less obvious fatalities, multiple fatalities as a matter of fact. So there's a lot of things that played in his favor.
As we often say, whether you believe or not, there but for the grace goes Tiger Woods. Thank God he is well. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. And also, really important to see people doing the job, doing it fast, getting there in moments, and doing it the right way. Sheriff Alex Villanueva, thank you. Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Now, the medical reality has been as big a part of the Tiger Woods story in recent years as his play on the greens. Again, anybody can do it at a high level if they're a pro when they are injury-free. You start building in injury and players fade in every sport. Imagine 5 back surgeries, 5 knee operations, all before today. Now let's talk about what the range of what he may be facing could be based on what we know. Let's bring in our man, Chief Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Now, I don't want to handcuff you with too little information here, but the words compound fracture let you know
of what? Where was the compound fracture?
That is where the bone literally breaks through the skin. What does that create as a range of severity here?
Well, it is a big range, Chris. Just simple things. Was this the upper leg, the femur, or was this the lower leg, the tibia and the fibula? These types of things matter in terms of trying to figure out the severity of the injury. And I think to your question, prognosis long term. Think about him. It's amazing. 2014 he has a back operation. 2015, 2017, 2019, 2020. It's pretty remarkable. And then he comes back after these operations and plays a really high level of golf. We just don't know right now. As part of these injuries to his legs, did he also have nerve injury? Did he also have significant vascular injury? It sounds like he had a significant amount of bleeding. That's what caused him to be in this sort of serious condition, vital signs becoming a little unstable at times. But there's a lot of still questions to be answered. And also, Chris, just having, you know, as a trauma neurosurgeon, I know that there's a picture in time that those, you just heard from the sheriff and the deputy. That's what they saw, and that's what they're describing at the time. He then goes to the hospital. And at that point, you get a full surveillance, everything, CAT scan of your brain, make sure there's no other internal organ injuries, any other broken bones. It's tough to assess all that on the scene. That's why they put you on a backboard, they put you in a neck collar. They just got to assume there's more severe injuries, and then they go to the hospital to make sure that's not the case.
Now, the level of golf that this man plays, you know, people, if they're not familiar with it, they'll say, well, it's a game, it's not like football. Incredible amount of torque, incredible amount of strain put on the body through repetitive motion, which is how he got the back issues. Is there an open question as to whether or not, what did this do to his back? You know, they're talking about the legs being broken, the ankle maybe being broken, but you have a fragile back. You just had surgery. That's got to be part of the analysis also, no?
I think without question, and in addition to the fact that he had recently, by his own description, I guess in December of last year, he had another, what's called a discectomy, a herniated disc that was operated on. But prior to that, he had a spine fusion, where that's where they basically put a graft in between two of the bones in the lower back. I know that the doctors, whenever someone has a mechanism of injury like the one that we're hearing about here, high speed, multiple rollovers, you're going to obviously assess the status of that fusion as well, the CT scan or an MRI scan, depending on what's going on with him. But absolutely, Chris. I mean, it's kind of remarkable that he was able to play after all those operations. We'll see what these injuries now do to him, but they're going to want to assess how this has affected all those areas that he's had previously operated in his back.
Serious but stable. Does that tell you anything other than, yeah, that sounds like broken legs, you know, and you're banged up from a car accident?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So you got stable, you got serious, you got critical. So they said he was in serious condition. What that typically means is that may have been periods of time where his blood pressure may have dropped out of the normal range. His heart rate may have gone up to try and compensate for that. And it's usually, as you should point out, Chris, indicative of significant bleeding. He's a young guy. You know,
phenomenal athlete.
You may have to give blood transfusions. Phenomenal athlete, very good shape. But that does, you know, the body compensates pretty well. It can keep up for a period of time. If you start to drop your blood pressure significantly, that usually is indicative that there's a significant amount of blood loss, maybe necessitating blood transfusions, IV fluids, all the things that you might suspect. But I think that, there's lots of clues that you were getting at with the sheriff and the deputy. He was calm and lucid. He was oriented times 3, meaning he knew who he was, he knew where he was, he knew what time it was. His airway was clearly, his ability to breathe was clearly okay. They were able to extricate him from the vehicle. I wouldn't read too much into all these reports that he couldn't stand. You wouldn't have somebody stand in this sort of situation. You'd have to assume that they might have a spinal cord injury, so you put him straight on a backboard.
You've got compound fractures in your legs. Why would you ask anybody to stand? You know, I mean, that alone could account for all the bleeding. The best thing I heard, tell me if you feel differently, obviously, is that he was able, once he got to the hospital, to make a conscious call to say, hey, please contact so-and-so. That makes me feel a lot better about head trauma, because people can phase out once they go through that initial trauma and shock. They get to the hospital, sometimes they go south. It's good to hear that he was still talking in a coherent way.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chris. Again, you know, when you hear this description from the deputy and the sheriff, that is a snapshot in time. And it's always an important lesson. Someone can, you know, decompensate or deteriorate even in life to the hospital. It's something that, you know, is either continuously being evaluated for. But as you point out, you now have 2 points in time where he seemed to be very lucid and making these types of decisions. My guess is he was still scanned, brain was scanned, and internal organs were assessed to make sure there was no additional bleeding. I mean, again, it was a serious accident. So you have to make sure that you don't miss something. You can't just go by what is obvious. It was obvious, I'm sure, these compound fractures, as you point out, they're tough to see because that's bone coming through the skin. But you got to make sure you don't get too myopic and you miss other injuries as a result.
Now, because we're talking about Tiger Woods and the art of the comeback, what is the shortest imaginable time frame for recovery to activity from those kinds of issues if they are compound fractures of the femur, the upper biggest bone in the body?
It's tough to say. It's speculative, but we're talking. This is a long recovery here, Chris. I mean, for sure. Was there nerve damage as well? How much vascular damage was there? Sometimes, Chris, you may have heard of this idea that if there's so much injury to the muscle, it'll swell. And because it's swelling underneath these thick layers of tissue known as fascia, sometimes you actually have to open up and provide you got to relieve the pressure. That can slow down your overall recovery. We just don't know.
Right.
We just don't know. All I've heard really is these compound fractures. I don't know if they're the femur or the tibia, fibula. We know about the ankle. The ankle can be a very serious injury because it's an area of the body that doesn't get as good a blood supply, so it can take longer to heal. It obviously is bearing a lot of the weight, most of the weight. So there's all these things to take into consideration. But I will say again, 5 back surgeries and the guy was still playing at the level that he was. I don't want to overstate that, but I'm just saying the guy's clearly come back from some significant, operations in the past.
It'll be interesting to watch. Thank God there's more of this story to tell. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, as always, thank you. The only thing that matters tonight for Tiger Woods and the many who care about him is that he's alive and that he's going to get another chance at this. And if anybody's going to break our expectations of what this injury can do to you, it would likely be Tiger Woods. But this could be a moment that winds up deciding the future of a one-man sports dynasty, at least in terms of his play. I want to bring in, one of the greats from the art of broadcast and communication, Bryant Gumbel. He's going to come in, and I want to talk to him about, Tiger Woods means more than golf. He means more than sport. We are covering this accident because it happened to him. What does he mean? What would it mean if he can't play again? What is next? Bryant Gumbel, stay with us.
Hello to the people listening with me. I'm still trying to look at these. I'm still working on finances.
Not all plastic is the same. We're carefully designing our bottles to be 100% recyclable, including the caps.
They're collected and separated from other plastics.
So they can be turned back into material that we use to make new bottles. That completes the circle and reduces plastic waste.
Please help us get every bottle back.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, hey.
Applebee's $1 bonus wings with any handcrafted burger. New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Claim your $75 credit when you post your first job at Indeed.com/home.
What do you look for when you trade? I want free access to research.
Yeah, TD Ameritrade's got that.
Free access to every platform.
Yeah, that too.
I want to know what I'm paying up front.
Yes, absolutely.
Now offering 0 commissions on online trading.
Sarah! Jenny Craig works. Introducing Rapid Results Max, our most effective weight loss program ever. You can lose up to 17 pounds in your first 4 weeks. Limited time offer and flexible delivery options with Jenny Craig.
Did you know you can go to libertymutual.com to customize your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Really? I didn't. Okay, I'm on vibration.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. They're out there, working day and night to breach your data and take what's yours. Ransomware, but it's your day attacks. It's kind of scary if you think about it. Or you could not think about it at all. This is autonomous cybersecurity. This is SentinelOne.
Hi, I'm a new customer and I want your best new smartphone deal. Well, I'm an existing customer and I'd like your best new smartphone deal.
Do you?
Actually, it's for both new and existing customers.
I feel silly, but I do want the fastest 5G network. Oh, I want the fastest 5G network.
Are we actually doing this again?
It's not complicated. Only AT&T gives everyone
I'm still looking
deal, like the Samsung Galaxy S21
at
5G.
these bills.
When you trade in.
Charlotte. Every day can be extraordinary with rich, creamy, delicious IA total yogurt.
Now Simparica Trio simplifies protection. Ticks and fleas? See ya!
Heartworm disease? No way.
Simparica Trio is the first chewable that delivers all this protection. And Simparica Trio is demonstrated safe for puppies. It's simple. Go with Simparica Trio. This drug class has been associated with neurologic adverse reactions, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with a history of these disorders. Protecting with all your heart. Simparica Trio.
The quarantine procedures instituted to protect us from any harmful life and protect any piece of life that might exist and be destroyed by our
Apollo 11 quarantine, March 6th on CNN.
We've seen Tiger Woods come back from bad crises, physical and emotional. Now, the interesting thing will be, what will this moment matter to him in terms of his legacy, the greatest sports icons of all time? I want perspective from somebody who knows the man and also knows his meaning. Legendary journalist has been following Woods' career. Got a great clip for you tonight of Bryant Gumbel with Tiger Woods at 5. You know, the host of Real Sports on our sister network, HBO, friend and mentor. Good to see you, Bryant.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Let's talk about his significance for a second. First of all, you know, no intention to speak about him in the past tense. He's only 45 years old. If anybody can recover from a couple of compound fractures, it's this guy. We've seen him come through worse, frankly. Why does he matter so much to us in this culture?
I think he's one of the few athletes who has really moved beyond just athletics and become a symbol in popular culture. I mean, I think if you're gonna gauge his impact, you'd have to pick a world. If you chose entertainment, he made golf worth watching. If you're going to talk sports, he tied the record for most PGA victories and is second in most majors. If you're talking racial context, he gave the game color and brought a lot of African Americans to golf. If you're talking financial impact, he doubled and tripled the amount of money that purses were worth on the PGA Tour. So his impact is enormous in a number of different spheres. And I don't know if that will ever be minimized, whether he makes it back or not.
And that's an interesting point that you make there about what this will mean for him. If he were to come back from this, it would really cement him as the Iron Man of all time when it comes to sports.
Iron Man, Miracle Man, maybe. I mean, as you've noted, 5 back surgeries, 5 knee surgeries, and now we're talking about, we're to believe the reports, a shattered ankle and at least 1 broken leg. He's 45 years old. I heard Dr. Gupta talking about his chances of recovery, us not knowing if it's his tibia, good deal. You know, it's hard to imagine him trying to compete before the age of 47, 48. And then you get into the game of how many men have been able to win a tournament on the PGA Tour beyond that age. Now, about a dozen have done it, but it remains a very unusual circumstance. Certainly, he's an unusual player. I don't know. It would be nice to think he could at least get one more, which would break the tie, which would be his 83rd Tour victory, which would move him to #1 all-time on the PGA Tour in victories. That would be very nice.
You know sports so well. Could you imagine us talking like this about anybody else near the tail end of the normal career? I hope that Tom Brady, you know, like some God forbid happened to Tom Brady, he's already had an amazing run. You know, I hope he can come back and win one Super Bowl. And God forbid he ever in a situation like this. You just hope he can play with his kids. Now, I want to get your perspective on him as a person from the poles of his existence. First, I want to show people this clip that is just so beautiful and signature Bryant Gumbel journalism. Here is Bryant telling the story of Tiger Woods at the beginning.
Tiger Woods, the most amazing 5-year-old golfer you have ever seen.
What has Rudy been able to teach you?
Putting, hitting, chipping.
He says you're a good student.
I am.
It's always great to interview kids. What did you?
It's always torture.
Yeah, right. You never know what you're going to get. They can go so bad on you so fast. What did you think of him at that age, other than having a swing I'd never seen in a kid that age before?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very hard to not be impressed. You know, as a hacker, you know, you watch a guy at that age doing things that you can only dream about. His ability with a golf club is unsurpassed, certainly unsurpassed in my lifetime, and I suspect he'll wind up being a multi-generational talent. Yes, Jack Nicklaus has more majors, but I think even Jack would concede that Tiger has hit golf shots that no one who has ever lived has hit.
Now, when you say hit shots, you have the mechanics and the skill, but also the pressure, Brian. This guy carries color, he carries class, he carried a lot of things in there with him. People were watching this guy for better and worse in a way no golfer's ever experienced.
Yeah, he was under a microscope at all times from an early age, and yet he has so many moments, as you note, that continue to stand out. Whether it's the shot from the fairway bunker at the Canadian Open, or the shot in the dark at Firestone, or the ace at Phoenix, or the better than most putt at TPC. The guy manages to transcend the game and create moments that stay with you forever. My dear mother, God rest her soul, could not have told you the difference between a golf ball and a hockey puck. But whenever Tiger Woods was on, she was glued to the set. He was, to steal a phrase from my old network, he was must-see TV. When he was on, you had to watch. You had to watch because it was what everyone was going to be talking about the next day.
The idea of being an icon transcends sport. You think about Muhammad Ali, you know, somebody who winds up creating a significance beyond what they do in their field of play. What do you respect most about Tiger Woods as a man now of 45?
Well, you know, it's very interesting you say that because I do think part of the allure of Ali, in my opinion, the allure of Tiger, is that we do see all facets of their personality. That we do see how fragile they are. That they are not perfect men. That they are not unbeatable. That they are prone to illness, injury, disease, that they are inclined to fail at various points in their life, that not everything is as perfectly executed as the sport they've chosen to play. And I think to most of us who are all too familiar with our flaws, we watch that and it makes them more easily relatable for most of us. Certainly that's the way I do.
And yet I do believe, you know, look, Tiger's very different than Muhammad Ali, and it's not correct to qualify him just because of color, but Muhammad Ali, you know, lived at a different time. He took on politics in a way, he took on class and structure in a way that Tiger Woods has not. But I'll tell you what, I've never seen anybody get taken down the way Tiger Woods was either. You know, in a world of sexual peccadillos and what people make of your marriage, that was epic, what was done to him. And it was done as, you know, a social kill shot, and he came back, and I didn't think he would.
He did come back, although I would venture to say he came back in a different fashion. I think he lost a lot of people. I think a lot of people cheered the failures. But yes, he did come back, and you are absolutely right. He does not belong in the same social sentence as Muhammad Ali, not even close. But in turn, on the field of play, what Tiger was able to accomplish is absolutely amazing when you think about it. This is a guy who was #1 in the world basically for 10 years in a row, was 11 times player of the year, who has these 82 wins, who has these 15 majors, and yet people forget he played in basically one tournament for 3 years. He had back surgeries constantly for a 5-year stretch. simply from a physical standpoint, what he did was remarkable. To do it when you're under that kind of a microscope in this media age is really something we had never seen before. And that's something even Muhammad Ali didn't have to work.
Hardest thing in life to do is change. And to get taken down on the big stage, most go away. Most stick with their close circle, and they don't want the scrutiny anymore. He came back, he put himself out there. It's something that deserves respect, no matter how you feel about the behavior that brought him down. He tried to do better, and he tried to do better in public. And that's impressive. And I think that's one of the reasons we're all paying so much attention now. People want to see what happens next, and I hope it's a beautiful chapter. Brian,
and you know what?
Last word to you.
If I could add just one thing, I'd like people at this point, selfishly, we are all sad at what happened because we're now going to be deprived from play. But I hope a lot of people feel relief that when we first heard about this, we thought we were hearing the early stages of another Kobe accident, and clearly that's not going to happen. These are not life-threatening injuries. He is presumably going to heal and enjoy a life with his children. Whether he can play golf or not, I don't want to say it's incidental, but that's not the important thing. This is a man who seems to have found happiness with his family and himself and a degree of contentment, and it's wonderful that he's going to survive this accident and be able to live his life.
It will be interesting to see what happens, and you're right. There has been too much terrible loss in this country in the last year already. The last thing we need is to lose anyone else, let alone a Tiger Woods. Brian Gumbel, you are one of the men that every time I see you, I have the same thought. Why don't I see this guy more? Thank you for taking the time to give us your perspective tonight. God bless and be well.
Chris, take care of yourself.
Thank you, sir. A big news night. The first public hearing on the Trump insurrection was held on the Hill today, and it was a perfect distillation of just how screwed up we are. One of the top Trumplicans in the Senate, a man embracing that GOPQ, he made a mockery of what we should see in January 6th. He literally did what he could to make it worse. We're back with a key lawmaker looking for real answers, and we've got to be honest. Some things may be broken in our style of government. We got to take them on. Next.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital with the new iPhone 12 with faster than fast 5G. Unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, now with nationwide 5G. Total Wireless, do amazing.
Jackson Hewitt knows your job description may have changed this year to say account manager, third grade teacher, and senior vice dog walker. Don't add tax preparer. Let Jackson Hewitt do it for you, so you can be certain your taxes are done right, guaranteed.
Nicorette knows quitting smoking is freaking hard. You get advice like, try hypnosis, or quit cold turkey. Kidding me? Instead, start small with Nicorette, which can lead to something big. Start stopping with Nicorette.
Okay, I'm tired. I need to eat something.
Investing, banking, guidance. Question. Is life giving you a few too many lemons? Maybe your glass is feeling
Few
a
too
little
many?
half empty, or you're just not quite together. Hey, give you and your
Should we look
mind
at the
a break
offers?
and meditate with Headspace. Start feeling better in minutes with friendly experts to help make it happen. So you can discover a happier, less stressed you anytime, no matter how many lemons you get. Headspace is meditation made simple. Try it now for free.
Keeping your smile healthy between dental visits is important. Waterpik Sonic Fusion allows you to brush and floss at the same time. Plus, it's clinically proven to be twice as effective as regular brushing and flossing. Keep your smile healthy. Learn more at waterpik.com.
Tonight, I'll be eating the El Pastor burrito from Boca Burritos right here in Aurora. Excellent. As a local access show, we want everyone to support local restaurants. Right, Cardi B?
Yeah, eat local.
Easy tools for chasing. Simple feels good. Chase. Make more good tools.
You've been very busy at home lately.
It's time you got reacquainted with your massage routine. With Massage Envy, your safety is a top priority. Massage Envy. Keep your body working.
Friday.
We are here.
Hear of a French QAnon conspiracy
All
theory
right.
that came on movement. Anderson Cooper talks to a former true believer.
You actually believe that I was drinking the blood of children?
Inside the QAnon conspiracy, Friday at 11.
Want to save hundreds on your wireless bill? With Xfinity Mobile, you can. How about saving hundreds on the new Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra 5G? You can do that too. All on the most reliable network? Sure thing. And with fast nationwide 5G included at no extra cost, we've got you covered. So join the carrier rated #1 in customer satisfaction. And get a new Samsung Galaxy starting at $17 a month. Learn more at XfinityMobile.com or visit your local Xfinity store today.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people?
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
It's absolutely worth it. Call 1-800-860-4881
All right, what else?
for a free no obligation quote.
Stanley Tucci, searching for Italy. Sundays at
Explore
9
nearby
on
offers.
CNN. Closed captioning is brought to
It's
you by
cold in
Avatar,
here,
the #1 dating
but I
site
do
for
have my
people
heat
over
back.
50.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
All right. Motley Fool, Dell. I'm looking at the offers.
Start for free. The #1 dating site for people over 50.
Slice, which apparently is for local pizza.
So today marked the first of many public hearings on the Capitol attack. The first time today we heard from security officials, former and present, on why our leaders were forced to run for their lives from a rabid Trump mob on January 6th. Was this about planning? Was it about intel? Was it about intentionality? Why did this happen? Especially now that we understand that what happened on the attack side was at least partly coordinated in advance. So you had 2 Senate committees hear from 4 witnesses who blamed federal law enforcement and the DOD, the Defense Department, for intelligence failures and a communication breakdown. Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund resigned in the wake of the insurrection. He says he only learned over the past 24 hours of a critical FBI warning that extremists were calling for war. Is that true? So we also heard powerful testimony from current Capitol Police Captain Carnisha Mendoza, how she left for the front lines of the Capitol attack on the 6th, only to return home with a nearly broken arm and chemical burns on her face that have yet to fully heal. Unfortunately, we heard another Republican pushing more lies. I can't believe, I really can't, that in the face of listening to these lawmakers and all the things and the legitimacy of it, that this Senator Ron Johnson, literally, with no irony on his face, like he believes it, starts talking about how this wasn't what it looked like. These stupid, baseless conspiracy theories about who these rioters were, that they really weren't Trump supporters. Listen to this bull.
But he said that the mood of the crowd was positive and festive. Many of the marchers were families with small children. Many were elderly, overweight, or just plain tired or frail. Many wore pro-police shirts, plainclothes militants, agents provocateurs, fake Trump protesters, but almost everyone seemed talkative and happy.
First of all, let me tell you something, brother. Very few people fake being a Trump supporter, okay? And you can describe who was in the protest any way you want. Look at the faces and the intentionality of what happened at the Capitol. Why would you try to fake the reality? What do you think is going to happen if you continue to be this way? Why would anyone who calls themselves a Republican want to associate with what's coming out of that man's mouth? I want to bring in Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan, who chairs a subcommittee investigating the police response. Congressman, thanks. Have you heard anything to put any meat on the bones of any suggestion that what happened at January 6th was anything other than what it seemed in all the pictures, that these were posers, these were plants. Is there any guidance from any level of
Right,
law
let's check the
enforcement
other
to
office.
authenticate any of it?
Zero, Chris. And you know, they're just repeating the same lie. There's zero truth to any of that. You can see the prosecution, the 200 people that are prosecuted are saying Trump told us to go. They're members of these right-wing extremist groups. There's all kinds of connections to President Trump, to these organizations. And so for Senator Johnson to say that, he's just blatantly lying, but it's working to some extent because 58% of Republicans believe what Ron Johnson was saying because people like Ron Johnson keep saying that.
I think the only answer is that every time it's brought up, you got to step on it. Not just by saying it's not true, but by showing the footage and showing the reality of who's prosecuted and what they said. Now, one of the things that is not so cool is that in terms of intel failure versus lack of preparation, you're going to have a little CYA going on here. That's not unusual. But if there were a meeting where the FBI was present, meeting with the local authorities there, I don't understand how this January 5th meeting between Capitol Security and federal law enforcement did not generate an understanding of the FBI report. Now, I heard one explanation was, well, it was only raw intelligence. Now, for people at home, that means it hadn't been processed, it hadn't been verified in a way that it was actionable. Do you buy that?
No, and the idea that the FBI just sent this as an email, like, holy crap, all this is going on, let me send you an email, along with the 400 other emails you get every single day. No one picked up the phone, no one made a call, no one elevated this situation. And so that's what we've got to find out. And then to have a meeting and that same information not come out is mind-boggling. And this is all with the backdrop, Chris, of all of the things that you covered leading up to January 5 and 6. Trump circled that date on the calendar. It's going to be wild. We're going to go down. We're going to have a rally. So, you know, the more you look at it, the more you see all these data points, and there was nobody or no group of people there really to synthesize all of this information. It seems like everyone's got these little pieces of information, and no one said, man, this could turn into a real, you know what, storm, and we better be ready for it, and ready significantly, because they're talking about National Guard too. We wanted the National Guard. We wanted the National Guard. Chris, there were only a few hundred National Guard, like 150 to 200, that if they did get the emergency clearance, if they did activate, it was only like 300. So we were still ill-prepared, even if the National Guard got activated immediately once they started storming the Capitol.
Well, you got to keep pushing, and you will continue to have this platform to tell people what you find out, because you got to find a fix. God forbid you don't. This could happen again. So Congressman Tim Ryan, I hope you keep learning, and you are free to come here. We'll keep inviting you to tell people what's going on and what needs to happen.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks.
Sure. Other front in the war is obviously COVID. We do have more hopeful news tonight. The vaccine makers are saying that they have been figuring out ways to make more and keep their consistency. Remember, it's not easy to match batch when it comes to vaccine. So then you have the real question. I know what you're hearing because I'm hearing it in my own life with my own family. How do I get this thing? How can I get an appointment? Why is it that my friend who's 50 miles away but in a different state, they're getting vaccines, but I can't even get my family, I get it. I don't understand either. But we do have a former CDC director here.
I can't get a vaccine, and I'm high risk.
Nomadland is now nominated for 4 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Picture of the Year.
That's why I was paying some bills, because I was able to take some money out of my account. I didn't feel it was safe to go to a ATM at night by myself outside of a bank, so I did go into a grocery store for the first time since March 7th of last year. And I had on a respirator and a surgical mask over the exhale port and a face shield and my migraine glasses. And it was hard to see because it was fogging up.
This is autonomous cybersecurity. This is Sentinel-1.
Oh, I was checking what other offers there were. And I was putting my credit cards in order so that I pay the highest interest rate first. And I'm not meaning to yell at you guys and gals. And if anyone has a term that would be inclusive, I don't like y'all or yuns. So what do you say other than guys?
Quality and timeless protection.
And gals. All right. So I'm going back to my offers. I'm looking at my offers.
Teddy Craig works. Introducing Rapid Results Max. You can lose up to 17 pounds in your first 4 weeks.
Columbia, get 8% back on purchases. HSN, 5.5% back. Available offers.
This is not just another streaming app. This is Love Taps, Death Traps, and
Showtime. Spend $10 or more, get $5 back. The Children's Place. Teleflora. Am I gonna order flowers? Well, I'll put that offer on my account. Not that I'm gonna be buying flowers.
At the UPS store, can you believe all the games with it?
What does Stuart Weitzman sell? All right, JSX. I don't even know what that is. Build.com, Pacific Sunwear, Peacock, Forever 21, the Yes, Women's what? Fashion, Viceroy Hotels, I Buy Direct, Armani Beauty, Aldo Shoes, TurboTax, Woot. What does Woot sell?
Interrogation room confessions.
No clue. Aeropostale, Vans, Equinox.
Oh, you think this is just a community center?
What does Equinox sell?
It's way more than that. Because when you look
Formerly Varus by Equinox. Don't know. Spiritual Gangster, Mandarin Oriental, Hotel, Ann Taylor, Udemy Courses, Maverick, Parachute, Luxury what? Luxury Home Essentials, HBO Max, Salvatore Ferragamo, Vanessa Wines, Stitch Fix. What does Stitch Fix sell?
HGTV, perhaps in a design magazine, but you're right. The perfect sin.
Spend 50, get 25 back. I'll add the offer, but I don't even know what Stitch Fix sells.
Plumbing showrooms are the largest in the Northwest, displaying fixtures from virtually every major manufacturer from around the globe. Prices are exceptionally low, and George Morgan plumbing experts will gladly answer all.
Forever 21, the Yes. Viceroy Hotels.
I'm on the Roger on Capitol Hill.
Mandarin Oriental, Maverick, Parachute.
Executives from the vaccine makers are promising a big increase in production this spring. They're talking of about 3 million shots a day by April. That would be a game changer. We certainly need as much as we can get. We're in a race. We have to get as many vaccinated people as we can before the variants start creating cases that may or may not be as effective when they have the vaccine. So we'll see. But while it's good news that we're up to more than 13% of the population having at least one shot, we still got a long way to go, and it's really uneven. I know you're all hearing these stories about nearby states being very different than yours. Let's discuss what's going on with the pace and what will be different once we do have prophylaxis, once we do have herd immunity. We're joined by former CDC Director, Dr. Tom Frieden. Good to see you, Doc.
Great to speak with you, Chris.
So why is it so uneven where in, let's say, New York, we're at one place where you still can't get old people vaccinated and everybody's desperate looking for appointments and it's so hard. And then in New Jersey, you got people who are my age getting it. Why is it so uneven?
Well, first off, the fundamental problem is there isn't enough vaccine to go around. We just don't have enough yet. Supply is getting better, but it's going to be months before there's ample supply.
Excuse me.
Second, there really wasn't the kind of planning that was needed. World-beating science to create these mRNA vaccines. Fantastic, just-in-time delivery of a technology that's been a decade in the making and is giving stunning results, but not that same kind of attention to planning a campaign. So there's a lot of catch-up to be done. There's not a national approach. There's not standards. The IT systems aren't really up to it. And we're paying the price for a poorly planned vaccination campaign, but we're seeing it get steadily better. The biggest thing that concerns me right now is the continued lack of equity in vaccine access. We're seeing Black and Latinx people vaccinated at about half the rate of white people in the U.S. And we know that they're about twice as likely to die from the virus. We have to do much better. And we're seeing some places have creative approaches, such as having the number of slots per zip code. That's a way of increasing the fairness of who gets the vaccination. But fundamentally, you have a lot of frustrated people because there aren't enough vaccines to go around.
The federal government gives them the vaccine, so they can put rules on who it's supposed to go to. Why doesn't the federal government say X percentage of these have to go to people who are minorities or within these communities? Why not?
Well, they're doing some things that are trying to do that without doing things that would create unnecessary conflict. For example, providing more vaccines to pharmacies, big and small pharmacies, providing vaccinations for community health centers to vaccinate. This is going to get better as vaccine supply improves. And really, we are seeing a lot of vaccinations being given, well over 1.5 million a day on most days. But fundamentally, it'll be a few more months until we can begin to see a really big impact. But Chris, I'll tell you one thing we are already seeing, which is very encouraging. We're seeing a drop in the number of deaths in nursing homes around the country. And that's a direct reflection of the vaccination in nursing homes, because that's gone pretty well.
One other quick thing. One of the greatest things that will motivate people to get this vaccine, other than safety information, is what they can do once they're vaccinated. When will we get guidance about whether people who are vaccinated will get some kind of thing they can have on their smartphones?
Should I order a pizza?
You can go places. Will we get some kind of guidance like that where people who are vaccinated get a preference?
I think that's probably inevitable, especially for some international travel and maybe for some local events. We're already seeing Israel do that. The problem is if we don't have equal access to vaccination, we're going to make unequal risk combined with unequal opportunity to do more things. So for now, mask up. But I think by the summer and fall, we're going to see a big difference and a lot more safety and a lot more activities. By fall, I think schools should be in person virtually entirely, with a few minor exceptions. And increasingly over the course of this year, we're going to get back to a new normal where we're going to be able to go out and share space with others, even indoors.
I hope so. Dr. Tom Frieden, thank you very much. We'll be right back.
What do I want? Do I want a gift card for Adidas, 1-800-Flowers, Airbnb, Amazon?
Applebee's $1 bonus wings with any handcrafted burger.
Want to get back to you again? Make it easy on
If you pay with an Amazon gift card, do you still get cash back?
How? However you want. With our clinically proven plan, choose from keto, advanced, or original. Use our app. Make it easy. Grab a friend.
American
Make it
Eagle,
fun.
AMC
Let's
Theaters,
live fast
Apple,
together.
Applebee's,
Control your
Barnes
mind.
and
Control
Noble.
your day. Take your life back.
So
Give us a week. We'll take off the weight and keep it off. Text FEED to 44123.
I don't think you get cash back if you pay with a gift card on Amazon. You can get cash back if you buy a Grubhub gift card on Amazon, but I don't think if you.
Quality candidates from our resume database. Claim your
Yeah.
$75 credit when you post
I
your
don't
first
think
job at
that you get
Indeed.com/promo.
Question. Is life giving you a few too many
cash
lemons?
back
Maybe your glass
if.
is feeling a little half empty, or you're just not.
Why
quite
am I
together.
feeling so cold?
If you and your mind.
All right, I don't know.
Meditate with Headspace. Start
Nobody's
feeling better in
commenting
minutes.
in the
With
chat,
friendly
but maybe
experts
they're
to help
watching
make it
online
happen.
because
So you can
110
discover
people stopped
happier,
in.
less
Hello.
stressed you anytime,
All right,
no matter
Delta
how many
Airlines,
lemons you get.
Darden Restaurants,
Headspace is meant to make it very
DoorDash.
simple. Try it now for free.
Parents, meet GoHenry, the allowance tool that helps kids learn the value of money. It's a
Groupon,
debit card,
Grubhub.
debit app
It
that
has a
gives
lot
kids
of
a chance to get
choices,
hands-on with
but
money. You define where your kids can spend and how much they're allowed to spend. You also get notified when they use their card, and that's only the half of it. Set up an automatic allowance, reward them for chores. Relatives can even surprise them with gifts. So what are you waiting for? Sign up now at GoHenry.com. GoHenry.
what
Make
does
every
Stitch
kid good
Fix
with
sell?
money.
I still don't know.
One of my favorite.
You can use it for Target.
Turmeric helps with healthy joints and
Which
inflammation.
Uber?
Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Qunol's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric.
Does
Qunol
Uber let
sits
you
on
use it on
brand
Uber Eats, Whole Foods? Huh.
Every day can be extraordinary with rich, creamy, delicious Fage total yogurt.
To understand Italy, you need to look at the food.
So, Bologna.
People here really know how to wait, and because they waited, I don't have to. So,
I need to eat something.
Searching for Italy, Sunday at 9.
Oh, you think this is just a community center? No, it's way more than that. Because when you look our community up with the internet, boom, look at Ariana crushing ritual class, Jamal chasing that college dream, Michael doing something crazy. This is the place where we can show the world what we can do.
Comcast is partnering with 1,000 community centers to create Wi-Fi-enabled lift zones, so students from low-income families can get the tools they need to be ready for anything.
Oh, we're ready.
Many of us have herpes, and managing outbreaks can be stressful. Between late-night searches, finding an appointment, and waiting in line at the pharmacy, it's become a huge pain. Meet Nurex, the easiest way to manage herpes. After an online medical consultation, Nurex will ship your medication for free in discreet packaging. Nurex is available with or without health insurance, and you'll have a year of unlimited access to the Nurex medical team. Take charge of your outbreaks from home with Nurex. Go to nurex.com.
All right. I need to eat something, like I said. I ate some nuts, some pistachio nuts. That's not really dinner, though, is it?
Thanks for watching CNA Tonight, the big show, the big star, D. Lemon, right now.
Okay, so riddle me this. How can people who are 30, 20s, 40s in other states like California and Florida already have gotten the vaccine, and you and I are sitting here like bumps on a log waiting to get the vaccine? I'm not complaining. I just want to know how, like, what is the, like, where's the rhyme or reason to all of it?
You'd have to rank them. One, you do have supply chain issues in terms of what percentage of each of the populations the states have, how they phased it. And then I think you have efficiencies in terms of how local and state governments work together to get it done. Now, look, there's a little bit of controversy in some of the states also about how they're allowing people to get it or not, but it is a point of frustration. But I think so I'm with you. The bigger problem for me is, what do you get for getting the vaccine other than the personal satisfaction of knowing that you're way, way better off? Personally, shouldn't that already be in place? Like, these places can open up, but you can open up this much more with vaccinated people.
Right, or if you have healthcare, because what I got from my healthcare person or agency or whatever you want to call it is that, hey, when it's your turn, we will let you know. So I'm just patiently waiting, but I'm just wondering, like, as I talk to friends who live in other states and they're my age or younger and healthy and in the gym every day, and I'm like, how did you get the vaccine? I don't really.
Well, also, since we don't have a national plan, I mean, one of the things I'd like to see.
When my to-be in-laws they're just getting it this week and they're in their 70s. Like, I don't understand.
It's really
that.
hard to get. Again, I told the story about my in-laws. If my wife wasn't, on there like a hacker, pushing refresh every 3 seconds to find a hole in an appointment calendar, they may still be waiting. But I don't know why the federal government hasn't been able to come up with a technology fix to help centralize access a little bit more. There are these bots out there that are on Twitter that aggregate data and let you know where appointments are in a state, like New Jersey has them.
Yeah.
Why don't they centralize that data and make it easier for people to index where they can get an opportunity to get the vaccine where they are? And I do think, I totally get that it's not fair if you get preference and go into a game because you get vaccinated when there's not equal access to vaccines for people of lower socioeconomic or minority communities. But at the same time, why are we pushing everyone to get vaccinated then? There has to be a...
What did he just say about New Jersey?
Yeah. Well, you
can get it there. That are on Twitter that aggregate data and let you know where appointments are in a state, like New Jersey has them.
Yeah.
Why don't they centralize, push and refresh every 3 seconds to find a hole in an appointment calendar? They may still be waiting. But I don't know why the federal government hasn't been able to come up with a technology fix to help centralize access a little bit more. There are these bots out there that are on Twitter that aggregate data and let you know where appointments are in a state, like New Jersey has them.
Yeah.
Why don't they centralize that data and make it easier for people to index where they can get an opportunity to get the vaccine where they are? And I do think, I totally get that it's not fair if you get preference and go into a game because you get vaccinated when there's not equal access to vaccines for people of lower socioeconomic or minority communities. But at the same time, why are we pushing everyone to get vaccinated then? There has to be a preference for those people.
Oh, I have to check the Tuesdays
well, I got a lot
app.
of breaking news. As you know, I got to talk about Tiger Woods and his
If
condition.
anyone can come back from this and play again, it'll be him.
This could be a very pivotal story when it comes to Tiger Woods and his story, the story of his personal life and his professional life. I'll see you later, sir.
I love you, Dylan.
Love you, brother. I'll talk to you later.
I love your unvaccinated self.
Just don't breathe on me. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. And yes, we do have breaking news. The latest on Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods hospitalized at this hour after being seriously injured in a high-speed single-car crash. Police saying that he is lucky to be alive at this moment. And tonight, Woods has compound fractures in both legs and a shattered ankle. And one look, if you look at this smashed SUV, it really tells you just how much worse all of this could have been. Can you imagine being inside of that car tumbling down that hill? The call came in at 7:12 a.m. That was Pacific time, okay? It was Pacific time, California. Tiger Woods crashed after going downhill on a winding road, reportedly on his way to a Golf Digest event at Rolling Hills Country Club. The area has a lot of accidents because of a downhill slope, several curves in that road. The SUV crossing a median, going across 2 lanes of road before hitting a curb, hitting a tree, landing on its side off the roadway in the brush. You see them putting it, trying to get it now onto the wrecker, onto the truck, onto the tow truck.
Let me
and then
check.
that's why Tiger Woods trapped inside of that SUV that you see now. The first deputy on the scene, here he is.
I asked him what his name was. He told me his name was Tiger, and at that moment, I immediately recognized him. I asked him if he knew where he was, what time of day, just to make sure he was oriented. He seemed as though he was lucid and calm.
Some more details about what happened and how they got him out. The rescue crew using an axe to set him free from that SUV. The crash coming just one day after Tiger Woods was out on that golf course with NBA legend Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade saying this tonight on TNT.
I picked up the golf club like many in the Black community because of Tiger Woods. And I got that opportunity yesterday to get out there and get him, he taught me a few things. Hopefully it translates, but to be out there with, the GOAT in my eyes, in their sport, and be able to talk to him about Sam and Charlie and his father. And, it was a great day. And then I woke up today so proud to be able to post that moment, for the world and be able to get like a little snippet of our moment together. And I took a nap and I woke up and I woke up to the news.
It's like one name, right? You don't have to say the Woods, right? It's like Tiger, Oprah, you don't have to say their last name. So Tiger transcends sports, superstar, who had a stunning fall from grace that was back in 2009. Blew up his marriage, went to stay at an addiction clinic, and played through pain to make an amazing comeback, okay? So we've got much more on this Tiger Woods story in just a minute. We're going to tell you all about it. So that, make sure if you want to know about it, stay tuned. But we have other big stories as well. There's another big story of the day, and that's the brutal truth about that attack on the Capitol. It revealed in testimony, revealing a lot in the testimony today at the Senate, where attackers ran riot last month. All the witnesses agreeing this was planned. This was a planned, coordinated attack. All the witnesses agreeing white supremacists were involved.
Do you agree that there is now clear evidence that supports the conclusion that the January 6th insurrection was planned and it was a coordinated attack on the U.S. Capitol? Just say, everyone agree?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree that this attack involved white supremacists and extremist groups?
Yes.
So I am going to speak with Senator Amy Klobuchar just ahead. But, or yes, there's always a but and a yes, right? The enablers of the big lie, They just keep trying to bury the truth. Exhibit A. Ron Johnson. Doing it even after everything we all saw with our own eyes. We saw it. You saw it. You heard it, what they were saying to some of the officers. You saw the paraphernalia. You saw the racist insignias on some of their shirts. Well, Ron Johnson wants you to believe that the white supremacists and domestic terrorists who stormed the Capitol were just friendly. How friendly does that look to you? That video. Yet, the senator is spreading lies, reading a conspiracy theory-laced article and entering it right into the record.
Many of the marchers were families with small children. Many were elderly, overweight, or just plain tired or frail. Traits not typically attributed to the riot prone. Some obviously didn't fit in, and he describes 4 different types of people: plainclothes militants, agents provocateurs, fake Trump protesters, and then disciplined uniformed column attackers. I think these are the people that probably planned this.
Do you really believe the garbage you're saying?
Shame on you, Ron Johnson. Do you think people are that stupid? Because that is a load of crap. A big old load of doo-doo, garbage. You represent the people of America. That is a load of BS, and you know it. You should be ashamed of spreading conspiracy theories about one of the worst days in our country's history. Have you no shame? I'm not even going to say sir. My southern roots are supposed to say sir, but not to that. Nuts. Crazy. Everybody saw what happened. Everybody saw who stormed that Capitol. The FBI is very clear about it. There is zero evidence that Antifa or any other group of leftists were part of this brutal attack. Same thing with the election fraud story. Goose eggs. Yet you still do it. To what end? To what end? And then there is Josh Hawley. The one, there he is. He's going to say, no, I wasn't saluting protesters. And look what he's doing. There's Josh Hawley, who saluted protesters outside the Capitol before the violence began. He is still defending them.
Do you regret any of your actions leading up to this? Why raising your fist like that?
No, first of all, let me just stop you right there. You call them insurrectionists. I mean, folks who I walked by when I was on my way to the House chamber were standing there peacefully behind police barricades off of the plaza, the capital of the United States. They have a First Amendment right to be there. They don't have a First Amendment right to riot, as some of them later did.
Maybe he should have gone out there and defended the Capitol and his colleagues. Is this really who you are representing? Sad. Sorry. The fact is, bloodthirsty rioters stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And then hours later, while the damage was still being cleaned up, Josh Hawley voted to challenge the Electoral College results. Voted to prop up the then president's big lie. Even after everything that happened. Still defending. Bad decision, still defending bad decision. Even after an attack that shocked the then Capitol Police chief.
I witnessed insurgents beating police officers with fists, pipes, sticks, bats, metal barricades, and flagpoles. These criminals came prepared for war. They came with their own radio system to coordinate the attack, and climbing gear and other equipment to defeat the Capitol's security features. I am sickened by what I witnessed that day.
He said it. Criminals. Yet Hawley and Johnson defend them. Fine people. That's what this is. It's all the same thing. A lot more tonight on that. But I want to turn now to the information on Tiger Woods. CNN's Nick Watts now.
Early morning, a winding downhill stretch of road. Tiger Woods was alone in that SUV, trapped.
The first contact was with the center median, and from there then cross into the opposing lane of traffic, hit the curb, hit a tree, and there was several rollovers during that process. He was alive and he was conscious.
It was my understanding that he had serious injuries to both legs.
The first call came in just after 7 a.m. Pacific time. Emergency personnel on the scene within minutes.
We also used an axe to pry him from the vehicle. He was taken from the vehicle with a collar and backboard for spinal precautions. He was transported in serious but stable condition.
Less than 10 miles to UCLA Harbor Hospital.
All we know that a serious condition as a result of the accident, and that's about all they want to say.
No sobriety test due to his injuries.
No evidence of impairment at this point in time.
Woods lives in Florida, so why was he on the West Coast? Well, you can almost read the words Genesis Invitational on the door of that crumpled SUV. Woods was hosting that tournament just a few miles up the coast. It ended Sunday. He wasn't playing, but spoke about his chances of making it to the Masters in April, the scene of his most famous triumphs.
7 weeks from today, final round of the Masters. You can be there.
I hope so. I got to get there first.
You feel like
a lot of it's based on my surgeons and my doctors, my therapists.
Yesterday, Woods was back on the golf course. Former NBA star Dwayne Wade posted this video.
Tiger, thank you for teaching me something. How good am I, or how bad am I?
Good. Tuesday morning, this. Not life-threatening, we're told, but a blow to all the world of sports. Golf legend Jack Nicklaus tweeting, Barbara and I just heard about Tiger's accident, and like everyone else, we are deeply concerned. We want to offer him our heartfelt support and prayers at this difficult time. Please join us in wishing Tiger a successful surgery and all the best for a full recovery. Now, this is where Tiger Woods' car finally came to rest, in this dirt by the side of the road. When the fire department got here, they said Tiger Woods was trying to get himself out of the car, but he couldn't. He also couldn't walk under his own steam, compound fractures to his legs. Now, these injuries are not life-threatening, but right here, this could be where one of the most storied careers in sport came to an end. We don't know if Tiger Woods will be able to play golf professionally again.
Well, we certainly hope so, Nick. And listen, I saw you there earlier, but it's dark, and I hope you can do this. Give us a sense of where this happened, a sense of just how far Tiger's car rolled off the road, how far that is from the interstate.
Yeah, Don, it is a lot harder in the dark, obviously. So the road is over there. He was driving downhill. It's brand new, good-looking blacktop. He somehow lost control, hit that median, and then crossed the median, hit the curb, and then rolled multiple times, as you just heard the sheriff saying, through all of this undergrowth. The county sheriff says he thinks it was hundreds of feet and multiple revolutions of this car before it came and landed right here. Now, that length, those hundreds of feet, led the sheriff to say that perhaps Tiger Woods was driving at above normal speed in order for the car to just travel so far off the road, spinning as it went. Don?
Yeah, there will be a thorough investigation. We will find out. Thank you, Nick Watt. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is lucky to be alive tonight, as the former President Barack Obama is tweeting him prayers for a speedy recovery. What kind of injuries does he have, and what do we know about this investigation, which I said will play out, a thorough one. We're gonna have more on that. That's next.
I'm looking about ordering a pizza. I don't know if I will or not, but I'm looking because I have a code that expires tomorrow and I'm hungry.
You can try to predict the future, or you can create it.
We're driving it
Everywhere.
vehement optimism, not exhaust. We plug in our vehicles as naturally as you charge your phone.
We
Our Generation E. We want smart, clean, and safe. To also be fun, easy, and powerful. Oh, yeah. A battery that charges fast. Runs long.
It fits everywhere.
No live chats in this whole broadcast.
Changes everything.
Free items spend $20.
Eva's
Let's
a great
see.
driver, and she deserves car insurance that puts her in control. That's why Root Insurance bases rates primarily on how you drive.
Spend 30, save
braking,
20.
Turning, how much you drive or how little. While most insurance companies rely solely on things like your age, education level, and zip code to give you a rate, with Root, your driving is the #1 factor we use to give you a better price. Learn more at joinroot.com. 84% of people have subscriptions.
I have chips. I just remembered that. What kind of chips do I have?
Recurring charges. Notify me when they're due and easily cancel unwanted subscriptions. Download the Truebill and take control of your money.
The Harry's razor is not the same. Because some of us are not the same. Our close shave comes from 5 German-engineered blades designed to start sharp and stay sharp. And we never upcharge you for high quality. So to those of us who don't want just the same, Harry's razor will be Harry's.
Where did they go?
Available in-store at harrys.com.
Our produce standards are more than a label. It's a promise that every food on the table was chosen by someone who works farming and supported organic before it was cool. Mighty high standards in that salad bowl, because that's what makes us whole.
Girl. Jenny Craig works. Introducing Rapid Results Now, our most effective weight loss program ever. You can lose up to 17 pounds in your first 4 weeks. Limited time offer and flexible delivery options with Jenny Craig.
Hello. Hey, Dad. Bobby's wondering if you could watch cartoons with him.
Yeah, sounds nice.
What kind of show? Dad, check your email.
Okay, good.
Sea salt and vinegar chips.
It's Play Watch Fun. You can invite people to watch live TV with you. Wow.
Hey, family.
How'd you get in there, Todd? Sling Watch Party is live TV together from anywhere, only from Sling. It's the best of cable for the best price.
Oh, that's a 20 off 30 essentials.
When it comes to laundry, everyone thinks their way is the right way.
I wash on delicate.
I just stuff everything in.
You have to wash on cold because it saves energy.
Secret is, Tide Pods work
Free item.
so everyone is right. It's got to be time.
Lots to discuss on our breaking news. Tiger Woods suffered compound fractures in both legs after his frightening car crash. The LA Times is reporting that he also suffered his his ankle. A first responder describing what it was like when they arrived at the scene of that crash.
Unfortunately, Mr. Woods was not able to stand under his own power. Our partners at LA County Fire were able to extricate him from the vehicle, and they put him onto a backboard. When I arrived on the scene, Mr. Woods was seated in the driver's seat. I made contact with him, and I ensured that he was able to speak to me. At that time, he seemed that as though he was still calm and lucid.
Josh Campbell joins me now. He is at Harvard UCLA Medical Center and also emergency room physician Dr. Lena Nguyen joins us as well. Good evening to both of you. Josh, I'm going to start with you first. You're at that hospital where Tiger Woods is right now. What can you tell us about his condition?
At this hour, Don, he is recovering from those very serious injuries. He was brought here about 8 miles from the actual crash site, this being the local level 1 trauma center here that services the South Bay here in South Los Angeles. Now, we were hearing earlier in the day from our law enforcement sources that his injuries had included a possible compound fracture to one or both of his legs. our colleagues at the Los Angeles Times reporting tonight that those injuries also include a shattered ankle, 2 broken legs, 2 fractured legs. Again, very serious injuries. And when you just look at some of the images of that vehicle that was involved in this violent accident there in Rancho Palos Verdes, it's just nothing short of a miracle that these injuries weren't more serious and perhaps fatal. You had a vehicle going downhill at speed, going across the median into an area with trees and brushes and the like. Just a very violent accident there. Again, Tiger Woods is now recovering here behind me tonight at this level 1 trauma center after receiving a very serious injury.
Josh, seatbelts, and new safety technology in cars, I'm sure, is the main reason that he's alive right now. Josh, the sheriff is getting a lot of questions about Tiger's state, I should say, when he was found, whether he was impaired or not. Are they talking about that?
They are indeed, and of course, after any type of accident, crash investigators try to look at all of the ingredients that went into that, to include weather, to include whether there was another party. It doesn't appear that weather was a factor here. This was a single car crash. We're also hearing from the authorities that they did not see any indication that he was impaired, no smell of alcohol, no indicia of being under the influence of any type of drug. Again, those are all standard things that they look for in a crash to try to determine the cause of it. Again, they're coming out tonight saying that as it relates to what they saw on scene, no indication that this was anything other than just perhaps a vehicle getting out of control based on traveling at a high rate of speed.
Got it. Dr. Wynn, I want to bring you in, but first I want you to listen to the fire chief. This is the fire chief describing how Tiger was pulled from that crash.
Tiger was alert-oriented. He was trying to self-execute, but he was unable. So my firefighters used a Halligan tube to help pry the seats and the metal from around his legs. They also used an axe to break out the windshield. At the same time, the firefighters and paramedics were keeping C-spine precautions for potential neck and back injuries. They were able to get him on a backboard, splint his legs, and transport him to a trauma center. The reason we did not take him to the nearest hospital because he had significant injuries, but they weren't life-threatening. If they were life-threatening, for example, if we were unable to control his airway, as an example, then we would have taken him to the nearest hospital.
Okay, so this is your expertise, Dr. Wen. What does that tell you about his condition?
Well, it means several things. One is that he was talking at the point that he was found, which already tells you a lot because we go by the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. If you're able to talk, it means that your airway is intact, it means that you're breathing. Probably also means that you're getting enough blood flow that you're not unconscious at that point. So that's certainly a very good sign. Now, self-extrication, not a good idea. This was a very high-speed mechanism car accident. Never a good idea to let somebody in that incident try to get themselves from the car. This is why you heard the fire chief talk about C-spine and spine mobilization. So you want to stabilize the spine. You also want to just prevent further injury from occurring. And this is why having somebody else open the car and get you out is a good idea. Something else that they mentioned here too at the end is that his injuries were serious, but they were not so life-threatening, meaning that he was able to go to the best level of care, this level 1 trauma center where he can get the most specialized care. They were not so emergent that he had to end up going to a closer hospital to be stabilized. So that also bodes well, although I will say that we're still waiting for more information about what other injuries he might have sustained. My concern is that if indeed he has these compound leg fractures, multiple leg fractures, that's such substantial force that there might be other injuries as well. And I'm certain that at the hospital like he's at Harvard UCLA, he would have been fully assessed for these other injuries too.
Dr. Wynn and Josh Campbell, thank you both. I appreciate it. We've got a lot more on the Tiger Woods crash. More than a golfer, really. He is a cultural icon. His thoughts on that and the racism he's encountered over his career. That's next.
Applebee's $1 boneless wings with any handcrafted burger. Mike shopped for the lowest mortgage rate and chose AmeriSave, a choice he'll never regret. Unlike using Perm Plus, a shampoo which attracts cats. Lots and lots of cats. Visit AmeriSave.com now. Lower mortgage rates mean higher savings.
For people living with HIV, keep being you.
and ask your doctor about Biktarvy. Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in certain adults. It's not a cure, but with one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV to help you get to and stay undetectable. That's when the amount of virus is so low, it cannot be measured by a lab test.
Can you
Research
schedule in
shows
advance
people
on
who take
Uber
HIV
Eats?
treatment every day and get to and stay undetectable can no longer transmit HIV through sex.
Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your doctor. Common side effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
If you're living with
Neo
HIV,
sushi.
keep loving who you are and ask your doctor if Biktarvy is right for you.
Want eyes that wow? Try Lumify eye drops. Lumify dramatically reduces redness to help eyes look whiter and brighter for up to 8 hours, so you can show off those baby blues, hazel hues, and beautiful browns. Lumify.
You won't believe your eyes. We've all got something in our closet we can sell. Jeans you don't love?
I don't think you can order on Uber Eats if it's currently unavailable.
You can put them up for sale in seconds.
Can you schedule for
Set
later?
your price and turn your closet into cash. Buy and sell from home with a Poshmark app. This
I don't
is
think
Fracture.
so.
Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit fractureme.com and print one today. I tried a laxative that's both gentle and fast.
Great tasting Dogalac soft juice works naturally with the water in your body in as little as 30 minutes. Puts you comfortably in control.
Delivery? What if I try tomorrow?
Soft juice.
Tomorrow from what?
Free the slaves.
But it's more complicated than that.
This election is an earthquake. In the South, it's
2 o'clock.
Lincoln, Sunday night.
Let's try that.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce a new channel for us to be. For our heroes and our heroes bringing light to the big stage of the root and be
Popular.
Romanticize and
Loved by locals.
To the rhythm, keep to the beat.
Latest deals.
The ultimate black
Let me check latest deals.
is our story.
When you run a business, you run with unknowns. You run with fresh starts, restarts, and starts you never thought possible. And when you find what works,
Oh wait, I don't want it delivered at 2 a.m. I meant 2 p.m. Whoops.
So this is our breaking news tonight. Tiger Woods hospitalized with compound fractures in both legs after a single vehicle rollover crash near Los Angeles. The crash putting the future of Woods' golf career really into question, also putting a spotlight on his cultural legacy. Let's discuss now. Bomani Jones is here. Bomani is a host of ESPN's The Right Time with Bomani Jones. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining. Important.
Glad to be on.
Important time for you to be on with us. So let's look at we'll put this up. When you look at Bomani, look at this total car. You see just how serious this crash was. Thankfully, Tiger Woods was wearing a seatbelt, but compound fractures to his legs on top of his back problems. That's a tough road to recover.
Yeah, no, I am certainly not a doctor, but approaching around 45 years old, coming off with back surgery, hearing the extent of these injuries, like the last thing I can imagine he's thinking about himself is golf. And it kind of feels like the last time he won the Masters, it reminded me that Jack Nicklaus won 18 majors, but there were 7 years between when he won his penultimate major in 1980 and the last one in 1986. You took the 18th and you were happy because you didn't expect it. And I always felt like that was the way that we should have treated it when Tiger Woods won that last Masters. Like, we were happy to get that one. This wasn't about trying to catch Jack Nicklaus anymore. This was about getting back to being Tiger Woods. We got to see him do it that one last time in that tournament, and it's entirely possible that that will be the last time we see him in that sort of glory. And I do hope for a lot of people and fans that they appreciated at the time that we were fortunate to get to see him come back to that moment in the time that he did. And we might not see him as a golfer like that ever again.
Yeah. He's broken so many barriers, really, including look. I think he's a living icon, right? There are very few people who are, one name, as you say their name and you know exactly who they're talking about with success and fame all over the world. Tiger is one of those people. But he broke so many barriers and had so many successes as a person of color in a sport that is mostly white. Struggled with that since he was 4 years old. I want you to watch this and then we'll discuss.
But when it first hit home that I was not accepted when I was probably about 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old, when a guy at the golf course I was playing at 4 years old, military base, came over to me and said, he called me the N-word and said, we don't allow any of you out here. And my dad was over on a putting green, and so he just kind of shooed me off. Went over, told my dad, and my dad came over, talked to him, had a little altercation, and next thing you know, I was kicked off from the golf course because of the color of my skin.
Wow. You say that Tiger's experienced a lot of racism in his life, Damani.
Yeah, he certainly has. I mean, it has been fair to raise questions about some of the decisions and actions he's made in response to some of that racism. But the part that's undeniable, and the part that I think that even people who are critical of him, they had to be a certain measure of empathy for, is the weight of the racism that he wound up under, and then the particular culture that he's in as a golfer, right? It's not simply that you're the only black person there, but you're the only black person there, and you are beating the hell out of everybody, right? So you got people that barely want you to be there in the first place, and they certainly don't want you there being the most dominant figure. Then you take it all the way, to winning the Masters when he was 21 years old. And then after you beat him so bad, they decide we need to change the course, right? That is the magnitude of Tiger Woods, is that we're going to change the course at Augusta National because nobody's supposed to beat everybody else like this, especially not you.
Yeah, and you talk about if you use that as motivation. Talk about motivation. The times that I've experienced that in my life, I've used it as motivation. I think many people of color or marginalized people, women, and so on, use it as motivation to succeed. That is the ultimate motivation, or it can be the ultimate thing that ruins your spirit.
Yeah, and exactly how much he uses that as motivation as opposed to everything else, right? Because one thing about athletes of that caliber is they don't have to work very hard to find the motivation. They find the slights in anything that happens to come up, right? But I would imagine that if in that same situation and it goes like this, that could absolutely be your driver.
Well, Monty, it's good to see you. I wish it was under better circumstances, but thank you for joining us tonight to talk about Tiger Woods' legacy and this accident. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The former Capitol Police Chief says rioters were, quote, prepared for war during that insurrection on January 6th. So why was law enforcement caught off guard? Stay with us.
Tonight, I'll be eating a calzone from Dobos in Aurora. Rock on. Tonight, I'll be eating lobster thermidor au gratin. Really? Yeah. The monkeys might fly out of my butt. Make it 2 calzones.
With Root Insurance, you have the power to control your own rates, and that could save you a lot of money. Root is a new type of car insurance that looks deeper than other insurers by using the sensors in your smartphone to understand important details about.
If you get $12 off and you have to pay $1.50 delivery fee, I wonder how much the other fees are.
Here's how it works. Download our app, get on the road, and then get a quote. Learn how you can take control of your car insurance at joinroot.com.
The Harry's razor is not the same. Because some of us are not the same. Our close shave comes from our 5 German-engineered blades, designed to start sharp and stay sharp. And we never upcharge you for high quality. So for those of us who don't want it just the same, Harry's razors are here. Harry's, not the same. Available in-store and at harrys.com.
Hi, I'm Yaya, founder of Truebill. These are crazy times, and keeping track of your money has never been more important. With Truebill, you can easily cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and create smart spending habits. Download Truebill today.
Sleep soundly tonight from the brand that more families trust for quality and timeless protection. ADT.
Jenny Craig works. Introducing Rapid Result Snacks. You can lose up to 17 pounds in your first 4 weeks.
Doing Jenny Craig, my best decision ever.
Limited time offer and flexible delivery options with Jenny Craig.
These folks, they don't have time to go to the post office. They have businesses to grow, customers to care for, lives to get home to. They use Stamps.com. Print discounted postage for any letter, any package, anytime, right from your computer. All the services of the post office, plus UPS, only cheaper. Get our special TV offer, a 4-week trial, plus postage and a digital scale. Go to Stamps.com/TV and never go to the post office again.
It's a brand new year, and with HelloFresh, it's 365 days to start fresh. To make some new memories that just might turn into traditions. Hit refresh with HelloFresh. Use code TV10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping.
To understand Italy, you need to look at the food. So, Bologna, people here really know how to wait, and because they've waited, I don't have to. So, Stanley Tucci, Searching for Italy, Sunday at 9.
Together, we can conquer the world.
That would be something. We're going on the trip of a lifetime. Scotland.
Since when were you not up for a challenge?
This is Scotland.
Want to save hundreds on your wireless bill? With Xfinity Mobile, you can. How about saving hundreds on the new Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra 5G? You can do that too. All on the most reliable network? Sure thing. And with fast nationwide 5G included at no extra cost, we've got you covered. So join the carrier rated #1 in customer satisfaction and get a new Samsung Galaxy starting at $17 a month. Learn more at XfinityMobile.com or visit your local Xfinity store today.
I'm Phil Mattingly at the White House, and this is CNN. So here's what lawmakers in Congress want to know. They want to know what went so horribly wrong on January 6th, leading to the deadly insurrection and really sacking off the Capitol by Trump supporters, sacking of the Capitol by Trump supporters. Current and former law enforcement officials testifying at the first public hearing on the attack today, describing a mix of intelligence and coordination failures. And the former chief of the U.S. Capitol Police also saying that the riot was a military-style coordinated attack.
These people came specifically with equipment. You're bringing climbing gear to a demonstration. You're bringing explosives. You're bringing chemical sprays. Also, the fact that we were dealing with 2 pipe bombs that were specifically, set right off the edge of our perimeter to, what I suspect, draw resources away. I think there was a significant coordination with this attack.
I'm so happy to have Senator Amy Klobuchar here to discuss, who oversaw the hearing. That's why I'm happy. So she was in the room, oversaw it, so she knows what's going on. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Don. And I also want to mention Gary Peters. We did this jointly with Homeland Security Rules, and we also did it with Rob Portman and Roy Blunt. It was really important to us, despite anything Ron Johnson said, that this be a bipartisan hearing, because the whole idea is to get answers that lead to solutions. And we had all 3 people that resigned shortly after this happened and really got them to talk about what went wrong.
Great. I'm glad you said that. And we need bipartisanship, of course, you know that. So if, as the testimony showed today, Senator, the Capitol attack was planned, it involved white supremacists and extremist groups, there was an intelligence breakdown. Why was everyone caught so completely off guard?
There was clearly mistakes, major failures of predicting what was happening here. And one of the things we talked about in the hearing was that on January 3rd, there was an internal assessment of intelligence with the result that tens of thousands may be there. And then right the night before, the FBI's Norfolk office emailed a report that, as you noted, that they felt a lot of social media showing people who were going to show up there felt they were going to war. And yet the police chief did not see that or know about it until literally the last few days. And so you just can't push send on an email at night and think people are going to read it. We all know that. And so there's issues on that end, but also on the receiving end. Why don't they have a better system? And we have something called the Capitol Police Board that's been there for a while. And I know there was bipartisan interest in looking at how we change that so that you don't have the police chief in the middle of an insurrection calling two sergeant-at-arms who are each trying to protect their own members to figure out how to get the National Guard there. Wow. Obviously, that should have been done before, but even the day of, there was a delay. And we're having a second hearing next week where we'll be bringing forth Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and FBI witnesses to ask them about their end of this. Again, looking for solutions and how to better structure this. It's pretty crazy. We know who the insider-in-chief was. We know what really went wrong here, but we also have to figure out how to protect the Capitol going forward.
Well, let me just say this because you mentioned it as well. The FBI bulletin warning the night before that Congress was a target, and I just want to quote it here so individuals can see it, saying, "Go there, ready for war." It said, "We get our president or we die." And you said some of those weren't seen. I want to ask you about Ron Johnson. If you can give me a quick answer to this one. Have you heard anything about any of the officers or any of the police brass saying they just didn't think that this would happen from Trump supporters because they thought Trump supporters had an affinity for law enforcement?
Okay, I did talk to a police officer off duty tonight, and he was offended by those things Ron Johnson said, that he had said that it was a festive atmosphere, that this wasn't, these were, as he said, older people. Like, come on.
Can we play it, and then you can talk about it? Let us play it, and then we'll let you talk about it. Here it is.
All right.
All right.
Although the crowd represented a broad cross-section of Americans, mostly working class by their appearance and manner of speech, some people stood out. A very few didn't share the jovial, friendly, earnest demeanor of the great majority. Some obviously didn't fit in, and he describes 4 different types of people: plainclothes militants, agents provocateurs, fake Trump protesters, and then disciplined, uniformed column of attackers. I think these are the people that probably planned this.
Okay, go on, Senator.
Okay, the American people watched the videos during the impeachment trial. They know what they saw. They heard about the feces on the wall and the blood on the floor and the African-American police officer who turned to his friend afterward, broke down in tears after being called the N-word 15 times and said, "Is this America?" These weren't fake Trump supporters. These were real Trump supporters. These weren't provocateurs out for a picnic on a festive day. We all know the truth. And that's why at the very beginning of the hearing, my first question was to ask all 4 law enforcement people, the leaders that day, now that you know what you know, was this planned? Was this coordinated? Was it led by white supremacists? Yes, 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 every single one of them.
Yeah.
I thought it was really important to defeat the misinformation put out there by Ron Johnson to make it clear to the American people. This was a hearing which for the most part was very helpful, frustrating but helpful. This was a hearing about getting answers and solutions, and he can go and spout out all he wants of these crazy theories, but they're not true.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Senator. And listen, all they have to do is talk to the people who were arrested who said they were acting on the behalf of their president. Thank you so much, Senator.
Yes.
I appreciate you joining us. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Instead of using today's hearing to get to the truth, some Republicans proving there's no conspiracy theory they won't peddle to defend Trump. And that's next.
What if you could go into the past, back before the fishing line was cast, to see that it was sustainable wild caught, and you could feel good about the fish that we bought? We know the story of all the fish that we've sold, because that's what makes us whole.
For clean skin, for clear skin, get Proactive.
I love my skin. I've never had a product work for me the way Proactive has.
Our acne-fighting ingredient, Adapalene, will help clear your skin and help prevent breakouts. Go to Proactive.com now to get consistently clear skin. Subscribe today for less than $1 a day at Proactive.com. And for a limited time, get this free charcoal cleansing brush. Subscribe today for less than $1 a day at Proactive.com and get this limited time offer.
Hello.
Hey, Dad.
Bobby's wondering if you could watch cartoons with him.
Yeah, sounds nice. I hope we can soon.
Dad, check your email.
Okay, quick. What is this?
It's Sling Watch Party. You can invite people to watch live TV with you.
Wow. Hey, family. How'd you get in there, Todd?
Sling Watch Party is live TV together from anywhere, only from Sling, with the best of cable for the best price.
It's so fun to use Realtor.com.
Ready to look for a house?
It's so user friendly and it has so many photos.
You can walk through a house from 1,000 miles away.
You can draw, and then it only shows you in that area. It's the best.
Realtor.
Honey latte.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
Oh, it's hacked.
Are you serious?
So I gave your birthday for free parking.
That's how I got this robe. No one really tries to be unsafe.
Mom, what's your 401k number?
But every time you give up info and privacy, you give up a little safety too.
Is it normal to ask for your social when you buy stocks?
Norton 360 with LifeLock helps protect your devices, online privacy, and identity all in one. Opt into cyber safety at Norton.com.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
Kids grow so fast, and so it's hard for me to spend money on something when I know they might grow out of it in 6 months. But because of Poshmark, I'm able to buy and sell and keep their closets fresh.
Get $5 off your first order. Download the free Poshmark app now and use offer code LOVEPOSH.
You look stunning. Want the truth to why I wake up feeling so darn awesome? I take care of my skin. Not this skin. That skin. And when you've got incontinence, you sure need to.
Tena Intimates pads lock liquid in and are now 100% breathable to care for your intimate skin.
Are you still here?
Text TENA5 to 52236 for your free sample. Kinds of skin protects like Tena.
Welcome to the back of your mind. This is where we learn how to eat with new. Cool.
Comb. Download the free app now.
Republican Senator Ron Johnson pushing debunked conspiracy theories at today's hearing on the Capitol riot, claiming left-wing agitators and so-called fake Trump supporters were behind the attack. Let's bring in now CNN political director David Chine and CNN political commentator Anna Navarro. Good evening to both. Anna, what did you think when Ron Johnson, when he was using his time at today's hearing to suggest that this Capitol attack really was the work of provocateurs? Disinformation is wrong. He's got to know that at this point he is deliberately doing this and that he is misinforming the public.
Really, I felt embarrassed for him and for the people of Wisconsin and for the Republican Party. Look, senators are supposed to have more gravitas than that. They're supposed to be the serious, deliberative chamber. And, three things came to mind. First of all, he has no place in these hearings. This level of misinformation, now we have the Senate populated by people like Ron Johnson and Josh Hawley, who purposely misinformed. Second thing that came to mind was just how important, the impeachment hearing, the impeachment trial was. There were so many people that said it was a waste of time. No, it wasn't a waste of time, because had we not seen those videos, had we not understood the timeline, had we not understood what incited these people and who they were and who the arrested ones are, maybe we would, maybe what Ron Johnson thinks, and say by Ron Johnson and his ilk. Because the truth is that all of those senators who denied that Joe Biden was elected president, all those senators who after January 6th's insurrection went back and voted against the confirmation of Joe Biden, all those senators have to look at themselves in the mirror, have to look at their constituents, have to live with themselves. And so I think the easiest way for them to do that is to lie.
Yeah.
To continue lying and pretending that what they were doing was protecting the country from, people that Nancy Pelosi had planted in the
But I think, Anna, that some of them, that's who they are. And the big lie doesn't matter. And listen, David, that there are people who, or like Adam Kinzinger, who are tweeting out that it's disgraceful for a sitting senator to spread this information blatantly. And that it goes on to say that it was a disservice to the people he serves to continue lying to them like this. It's dangerous and it has to stop. Unfortunately, for the Republican Party, there are more Ron Johnsons in the party than there are of people like Kinzinger.
Well, that's certainly the bet, Don, that Ron Johnson is making. Should he decide to run again for re-election from Wisconsin next year, he's up, and we haven't heard his decision yet. But he clearly thinks the path to re-election, should he decide to run, is exactly down this disgraceful disinformation hole that is bad for democracy. Why he thinks that's going to work in a state that Joe Biden actually narrowly defeated Donald Trump in 2022, I'm not sure I fully understand that, but he thinks it is the way to get the most energy out of the base of his party. And as you note, all the polls indicate that the Ron Johnson point of view is the far more popular point of view in the current makeup of the Republican Party.
Yeah, speaking of the more Ron Johnsons, there's also Josh Hawley today, the guy who stood outside the Capitol, raised a fist to the insurrectionists, leading the charge for President Trump and objecting to the electoral vote. He's now trying to blame others for what happened to congressional leaders like Nancy Pelosi. That's pretty despicable.
It's pretty despicable.
That was for David.
What did he just say?
Sorry. So, yeah.
So Josh Hawley today, the guy who stood outside the Capitol, raised a fist to the insurrectionists, leading the charge for President Trump and objecting to the electoral vote. He's now trying to blame others for what happened to congressional leaders like Nancy Pelosi. That's pretty despicable.
It's pretty despicable.
That was for David.
Oh, sorry. So
outside
but he thinks it is the way to get the most energy out of the base of his party. And as you note, all the polls indicate that the Ron Johnson point of view is the far more popular point of view in the current makeup of the Republican Party.
Yeah, speaking of the more Ron Johnsons, there's also Josh Hawley today, the guy who stood outside the Capitol, raised a fist to the insurrectionists, leading the charge for President Trump and objecting to the electoral vote.
All right, you guys, I need to eat something because my brain is clearly not processing this information.
To the base of his party. And as you note, all the polls indicate that the Ron Johnson point of view is the far more popular point of view in the current makeup of the Republican Party.
Yeah, speaking of the more Ron Johnsons, there's also Josh Hawley today, the guy who stood outside the Capitol, raised a fist to the insurrectionists, leading the charge for President Trump and objecting to the electoral vote. He's now trying to blame others for what happened to congressional leaders like Nancy Pelosi. That's pretty despicable.
All right. I think that, I don't know if anyone's listening, but I think that I'm done.
Don, that